kind of put this into effect because I know that in concept can be a little bit confusing. And we'll hop right into our second point, which is very important. Now, I'm going to have you guys re-participate again because I really need this to stick with all of you in your understanding of what we're doing and why we're trying to do it this particular way. So I'm going to ask you all again, and I want you all to participate again. If you were in medieval times, I just dropped you in the middle of some random kingdom, okay? Like you're in Game of Thrones or something like that. And you were walking around and you needed to identify the difference between the women who were princesses and the women who were peasants. I want all of you to answer for me because we're going to work on this together. How would you go about identifying the difference between the women who were princesses and the women who were peasants? What clues? Because I know you're smart and you're amazing. What context clues would you use to identify those women? How would you go about looking for things and looking for context to understand who is who and why that is? Okay, so I see some people say a clothing, right? Behavior, begging or receiving, okay? The princess dresses elegantly, how they look, right? I see more people saying clothes, cleaning up after him. After him, okay, right? If the princess is beautiful, confident, and intelligent, status symbol, okay, but what would be the status symbol? Confidence, way of acting, way of being, okay. I want all of you to participate because this is very important for us all to understand. Let me just fix this, okay, right? The accessories they use, education, the way they talk, cleanliness, okay. So I see a lot of you saying their clothes. So we'll put in here dress. There's a reason I'm putting this in the middle. Right? I see a lot of people saying mannerisms, the way they carry themselves. So we'll say the way they talk, right? Right? And some people said they'll be pretty, their aura, their voice, right? What she tolerates. Okay, interesting. We'll add some other things in here that I want us to discuss. Oops, make sure I spell this right. So here's the thing. See, you're all really smart, amazing, beautiful, intelligent women. And this is what's so amazing about this concept because it directly applies to you and how you're going to receive princess treatment from men. See, when I asked all of you some of the things you would be looking for if you were trying to identify the difference between a princess and a peasant, all of the things you guys so intelligently mentioned in the chat here are the exact type of things men are looking for and identifying when they're categorizing you in one of these two places. So when we think about this logically, and we think about how you would go about identifying the difference between two different types of people, all we have to do is copy and paste the things that you would be looking for in identifying the difference between a medieval princess and a medieval peasant and apply that to the modern day and figure out how we can put our focus in each one of these different places and make sure that we shine the right light on you, right? That the men will be able to identify you as a princess instead of a peasant. Because the thing that will happen, similar in my example analogy of me dropping you into Game of Thrones or something like that, some medieval kingdom. The thing that will happen to you is once you identify if a woman is a princess or a peasant, you will change and adjust your approach to that woman based on the factors you've used to identify which one you would categorize her as. And it's the exact same thing that the men will do with you. As they identify based on these different factors, and there's even more than this, right? Based on these different factors that they'll use to identify which one you are, once they categorize you, then they begin to approach you based on that categorization. So then the question becomes, how do we ensure that all of these key points that they will use to identify which one you are, you hit every key point, and then the princess treatment can come simply because he will now approach you based on how he sees you and what he identifies you as, okay? So now that we understand what we're trying to do here and where we're trying to focus and why, now let's really hop into getting into each one of these different areas. And we're going to start off with an area that is going to be kind of tough for some of you to hear, okay? So, Okay. So I'm going to do a quick drawing of you. I'm not Mozart, so don't expect nothing crazy. And we're going to draw you up here and how you, I'm going to give you a booty today. All right. That's how I'm feeling. Just being a little nicer to you, even if you don't have one. Now, we're going to draw something else here. And you're going to see why this is important as well. So, there's a reason I'm drawing this like this. You have to be very aware. Remember how I just asked you, what would you use to identify the difference between a princess in medieval times and a peasant in medieval times? What you need to understand is one of the things you guys all mentioned is, oh, well, I use to identify the way that they talk, their confidence, their aura, things like that. Now let's copy and paste that to modern day in your self-talk. See, the way that you talk about yourself can really help men identify who you are, what type of person you are, whether you are a princess or a peasant. Why? Because the way that you talk about yourself is directly correlated to the picture you see when you look in the mirror. Right? So this is what you see when you look in the mirror. And I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about spiritually and emotionally. The person that you think you are, the picture of yourself that you have. You see, because a princess knows that she's a princess. And the peasant knows that they're a peasant. See, in a weird way, the way that you think of yourself in your mind will also represent outwardly to other people. And so when you are talking to men, it's very important that the way you talk about yourself is like a princess. But what does that actually look like in reality? The mistake that some of you might make is when you go out on a date with a guy, you feel like, well, okay, this is meant to be my best friend. We're supposed to be close. I'm not supposed to hide anything. I'm just supposed to be super upfront. While that might not necessarily be a bad thing, this is how some of you will go about your dating life. You'll go on your date and you'll say, oh my gosh, I look so ugly today. Look at this pimple on my forehead. I feel so bloated on this date. I can barely fit in this dress. These jeans don't fit me right. I just look horrible today. I've had a horrible day and I just feel disgusting. And it's just, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And this is just so hard. And last week, it was just such a hard day. This is like the first date I've ever had in like 8 months. And I haven't. This is a problem. What you're doing is you might not realize it because you're just in the spirit of just saying how you feel, but you're talking about yourself like you're a peasant. You might not realize it. And as you're speaking and you're speaking more, he's realizing and realizing more, oh, you're a peasant. Not because I forced you to be a peasant, but that's how you view yourself, right? You think of yourself as being bottom of the barrel. When you're describing yourself as disgusting and unattractive and your pimples and you're bloated and this girl's so much prettier and you can't get anything and your life sucks, you're not doing something for yourself or this relationship that benefits you. You're actually showing him exactly how you're like the bottom of the barrel. No guy wants you. You're not desirable. And it's not even him that's saying that. It's you saying that about yourself. And some of you might consider that just being honest about how you feel about yourself. But you don't realize that this self-talk is a mirror. And you're actually in the process of talking like that, you're literally showing him that mirror. You're showing him what you see of yourself when you look in the mirror. And when he sees that picture, he agrees with you, he shakes your hand and he says, perfect. I will categorize you and think of you exactly how you think of yourself. So you think of yourself as a peasant, you're bloated, you're disgusting, pimples all over your face, no one wants you, no one wants to date you, you can barely hold a man. Sure, I will agree with you, and I will definitely treat you that same way as you see yourself in the mirror. And then you'll realize very quickly how this can put you in a bad position. I seen someone earlier say, you just called me out. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. Right? Vice versa, if you think of yourself as a princess, then you need to make sure you talk about yourself like you are a princess. It's not to say that you won't have insecurities. It's not to say that there aren't certain things that might make you feel nervous about yourself, or that you do, or twitches or tics that you might have that you think are make you a little bit quirky or different. I'm not saying you can't be insecure, but what I am saying is we want you to talk about yourself as if you're a princess, because men are taking that information in to decide if you are a princess. And once they categorize you in one of these different categories, they will then treat you based on how they identify you. Similar to you, if you were dropped into the medieval times and forced to categorize women on who's a princess and who's a peasant. Make sure that what the words that are coming out of your mouth, right, from the very beginning, speak towards the princess in you, not the peasant in you. Not saying that there will never be a time for you to share your emotions and feelings and insecurities, but what we want to make sure is we paint a picture that you are a princess first, and then as our relationship grows and progresses with that man, then we can share some of our insecurities with that man, okay? When it's a safe place. But we want to make sure first you're doing the most important thing, which is showing him that in your mirror, you're not looking like a peasant. In your mirror, you're looking like a beautiful, amazing princess. Because once you show him that mirror, right, and you show him that picture that you have of yourself, he will then say, okay, I need to be treating you along the lines of what you see in yourself. There should be an alignment there. I can't be in a date or in a relationship with a woman who sees herself like a princess, and I'm not willing to treat her that same way that she sees herself. Guys have an understanding that if there's alignment between what you see of yourself, then you're expecting something from me without you having to beg him or tell him that, right? There's an understanding there, right? So let's hop into our next point now that we've gotten that out of the way. Now, okay. I'll warn you guys about this point. Some of you who are sensitive, okay, and easily triggered, my advice to you is just leave, okay? That's my honest advice. So I'll give you all a chance. If you really want to learn something, you can stay, okay? If you really want to figure out how to get princess treatment, you can stay. But if you're a little bit too sensitive to guys telling you how to do things and what will work and what will not, this probably is no longer the show for you. You're probably going to want to exit this one. Join me on the next one. All right. So I hope that warning was enough, because we're going to get into it. All right. And some of you might not like it, but we're going to get into it. Okay. So I'm going to draw something out here, and I'm going to attempt to make this visually pleasing. Okay. Bear with me. You guys know my drawing ain't going to be the best. So don't be, ooh, we want to draw you a little bit slimmer than that. You got an hourglass figure, girl. We got to draw you a little bit slimmer than that with a big old booty, girl. Big. You a princess with a big booty, girl. Big. Damn, you got a long torso too. Okay. Okay. All right. So we have this other version of you here. Don't you worry about all this. We'll make your hair nasty in this one. Okay. All right, chat. You guys know I be trying. Okay. So, ignoring the drawing here, in all seriousness, I want to help you understand a concept that is very important. See, when I asked all of you earlier about what you would use to identify the difference between a woman who was a princess in medieval times, if I dropped you into a random kingdom, and a woman who is a peasant, something very important occurred there. One of the first things that a lot of you were looking to use to identify and categorize the difference between a princess and a peasant was what she was wearing and the clothes she had on. Because for you, before you ever talk to someone before you ever meet them, come up to them, or get close to them. Your first understanding of who they are, what they're about, and the type of person or way you should be approaching them is seeing them visually from afar and seeing what they're wearing. So now let's take that idea and concept and copy and paste that to men and their ability or lack of desire to give or not give princess treatment. If that's so for you, that very quickly you would use clothing to identify the difference between a woman who is a princess in medieval times and a woman who is a peasant, then we have to make sure that we attach that same importance to you and the way that you dress. Because let's just, point this out, right? Obviously, a peasant would be wearing worn clothes, dirty, old, right? And we'll even say dull, right? And a princess, we can just put here on the side, right? Bright. We'll put elegant, clean, and we'll just say pretty. You could even say expensive there, but you get my point. Now, the reason that I'm saying this, and I'm trying to point out the importance here, is because you have to then do a job for yourself of asking yourself, how do you represent yourself based on how you dress? See, obviously, we don't have peasants in today's world, but we can think of peasants, instead of thinking of them as like poor people or something like that, we think of them today as desperate women. Women who have a low value, and because of their lack of value, they're very desperate for attention from men. They're very desperate to be seen and admired by men. They're very desperate to be with any man whatsoever because they need that, because no one wants them. So when you get dressed in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, when you go out, you have to ask yourself, what am I portraying in the way that you're dressing? Now, I'm a man, so I'm not going to tell you how you should or shouldn't dress. But I will tell you that if you're going to receive princess treatment from men, remember how we said we're shining a flashlight on different parts of your personality and who you are to make sure that the men see that of you, and based on how they see you, they identify you in a particular category and then they approach you based on that category? We want to make sure that everything is in alignment, including and especially in the way that you dress, because that's the first way for men to identify how do you see yourself, how do you feel about yourself, and what type of person and woman are you. From that, I will then choose how I approach you based on what I think you are and how you think of yourself and the type of treatment that you're expecting. So I know that this is a little funny to draw out with the person with ripped clothes, but I'm not talking about wearing ripped clothes. Okay? Understand that in a modern day, the peasant woman can be wearing clothes that are expensive. And understand that in the modern day, the peasant woman can still be wearing clothes that aren't ripped or smelly. But understand, even if your clothes aren't necessarily ripped or smelly, you can still be communicating a very important key message to men in the way that you dress. So the reason I'm pointing all of this out, and the reason that this is an important point that I want to kind of really have you sit in, is because you have to get to a point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you have an honest conversation with yourself about who you are and what you want to represent. And once you answer that question for yourself of who you are and what you want to represent, you have to have an honest question to yourself and say, is how I present myself actually in alignment with how I want to be approached and how I want to be seen? I'm going to say that again, okay? You have to ask yourself an honest question. Is who I actually want to be and how I want to be approached, is that in alignment with how I'm actually presenting myself outwardly to other people, and in this specific case, other men? Because if the answer to that question is no, that there is misalignment there, or the way that I'm presenting myself isn't perfectly in line with how I want to be seen, well, then now we've identified one of your major problems here on why you're not receiving princess treatment. Because everything has to be in alignment in order for you to be receiving princess treatment from men, right? They choose to give princess treatment to certain women, but those women fit certain categories and identify themselves a particular way in order to be a princess that those men understand I can only approach her if I'm ready to give her princess treatment. So in this point here, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm going to allow you the space to take from this what you will and ask yourself very important questions and figure out how you're going to practically implement this in your life to make the proper adjustment if you want princess treatment. Now, if you don't care about princess treatment, it's not that important to you, or you're just like, Thompson, I'm going to dress how I want. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to say what I want. It doesn't matter to me. I get to do what I want. It doesn't matter what the men want. Sure. If that's how you want to make it, that's how you want to play it, go ahead, do your own thing. But if you're thinking maybe there's a little bit of misalignment here, maybe I'm not representing myself in the way that I want to be treated or approached, then you have some things to think about. And I'll just let that sit with you for what it will. All right, let's hop into our point number 5. Okay. Hope some of you got exactly what I'm saying there, okay, without me having to say it. Let's hop into this next point. All right, now this one is also gonna be painful, okay? In our 5th point. Okay, you guys aren't gonna like this. Well, some of you won't. A lot of you won't, okay? Just gonna be real. So, let's draw it out here. Let's think of something here. Point number 5 is about the environment. Now, the reason I say a lot of you aren't going to like this point either, it's going to point out some things to you that you may or may not want to actually accept. If you're in an environment here where you're surrounded by a particular type of people, you might think to yourself, I'm surrounded by these people, but I'm different from these people. But understand, when it comes to how you think of yourself and how you're seen, if there's not an alignment between how you actually present yourself and what you think in your mind, you'll be very disappointed of how people actually view you based on what you're actually doing. So what do I mean by that? Remember how we talked about the princess and the peasant and how you would identify the difference between a medieval princess and a medieval peasant? See, one of the things that I put there on that board earlier was environment, because you would assume in the places where all of the peasants would hang out and be is the same type of places where all the peasants would hang out and be. And you would also assume that the princesses would not be hanging out in the places that the peasants are hanging out. Vice versa, you would never assume that a peasant would be in the royal kingdom where all of the princesses would reside. So, let's look at something very interesting here. If you are spending time in places where all of the, we'll call them quote unquote peasant women would be spending their time, how do you think you're going to be viewed by men? Obviously, like I said before, we don't have peasants, so to speak, in our modern day, but we do have desperate women. We do have low, we'll just say quality women. Now, this is why I'm saying it's going to hurt some of you and some of your feelings. But the reality of it is, okay, I won't even say it yet. I want you to join in on me so that we can see if we're on the same page here. Tell me, if I'm describing modern day peasant women as women who are desperate and low quality, tell me as a woman, if you were thinking to yourself, put yourself in a man's shoes, where do you think most of the desperate and low quality women would be spending a lot of their time? Just shoot something out. It doesn't have to be perfectly right. I want you to tell me, if you put yourself in a man's shoes, think to yourself, I'm a man today. Where would I find the most desperate and low quality woman that I could possibly find? Just put yourself in a man's shoes. I want you all to participate and tell me here, okay? I see the club, the bars, right? I seen someone earlier say dating apps, the internet, right? Someone said in church, a dive bar, a club, right? Local bars, dating apps, okay? Someone say, what did you say? OnlyFans? Okay, I don't even know if I can say that. Yeah, okay. Ashley Madison, is that a store? What is that? All right. Okay, so this is great. Someone said Snapchat. Okay, this is great. So I want you all to see this in action. When I asked all of you to put yourself in a man's shoes, and I asked you to tell me, where do you think you'd find the most desperate and low quality woman, i.e. the peasant woman, look at what a lot of you said. I really want you to take that in. Look at what you yourself said about where men would be able to find the most low quality and desperate women. And then ask yourself, am I spending my time in all of the places where all of the peasant women can be found? Because if I'm spending my time in all of the places where the peasant women can be found, what are those men going to think of me if all of the other women surrounding me are peasants? So this is why I say this can be a little bit of a painful realization, right? Because when you come to this realization, sometimes it can become a lot more clear to you where you're going wrong. Now, I'm not saying, right, that going to a club or a bar, right? So we'll put a line here. I'm not saying going to a club, a bar, or being on a dating app means you're a bad person. But if you're saying to yourself that the men who are looking for low quality women, peasant women, desperate women, are going to these places to find them, and you're spending a majority of your time meeting men in these places, well, no wonder you struggle to receive princess treatment. You're surrounding yourself where all the men are looking for peasant women. And so there's an easy assumption made on those on the man's part, that when he meets you in this environment, that you're just like all the other peasant women. Because if you're in the same place, right? Like the example that I gave earlier with the looking for a peasant or a princess in medieval times, and you're expecting that the princesses would all be in the kingdom and the peasants would be out on the street hanging out and they wouldn't be commingling, then the expectation is if I'm seeing a whole group of peasants, then that means that that's all peasants. Even if there's one princess sprinkled in there, you're going to make an assumption they're all peasants. And it's the same thing for the men. Even though you might want princess treatment and you might think of yourself as a princess and carry yourself as one, simply by spending your time in the wrong environment, you can get seen as a peasant based on the fact that the men are expecting to find peasant women in all of these different places. Okay? Right? So now, I know some of you are asking a very important question. I see someone just asked it. Where do the princesses go? Because I want to be, we'll just color in the princess dark. I want to be queen energy. I want to be princess energy. And I want to be seen as that and treated like that. The reality of it is, the princesses go The reality of it is, and this might be a little bit abstract to some of you, the princesses go to places where they can learn. The princesses go to places where they can grow. And the princesses go to places where they can invest. And I'm not talking about invest money. I'm talking about invest into themselves. Okay? So think of the type of things that you could do where you would be satisfying any one of these different things, right? Tell me in the chat, actually, because I want you guys to do some thinking. Where are some of the places based on this criteria that you could go and spend some time where you could either be learning, you could be growing, whether it be emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be, or you could be investing in yourself. Tell me, just give me some random ideas that may come to your mind that may fit this. I see some people say the gym. I seen someone else say college, the library, the museum, right? Someone said the club, okay. The university gym, church, right? The library, the spa, shopping mall, okay, right? Work, social clubs, right? Conferences. Okay, so the reason I say that is because a lot of you are smart and you know the different places you can go. But here's the thing. And this is what I have to be honest with you because I've experienced this as well, okay? And I know it to be true as well. See, it's harder to go to these places because they're not as accessible or they're not as popular. But understand that the reason that these places are more popular is because they're more accessible to the masses. Why are they more accessible to the masses? Because it's peasant behavior. Peasant behavior is free for everyone. Anyone can attend peasant behavior, okay? Free for all in peasant behavior. Anyone can come in, anyone's invited. There is no criteria or stopping anyone from participating in peasant behavior. And because it's peasant behavior, it's available everywhere, okay? There's more peasant behavior available for you to participate in than there even is princess behavior for you to participate in. But I want you to understand there's a very good reason for that, right? Because you're separating yourself from other women, right? The reality of this in life, okay, I'm just going to tell you this is like kind of like a fatherly, brotherly figure here. The reality of it is in life, not all women will be treated the same. Now, I know that might be disappointing, but you have a choice to make. You can get treated like this woman, but you have to understand how to separate yourself from these women. Because someone will get treated like a peasant, but you're in the players club and you're in the minority trying to learn something and grow. So let's make that you that gets treated like a princess and allow the rest of the women who can't figure that out and are going to spend their time in the peasant areas, let them suffer, okay? At the end of the day, you got to take care of yourself first. So the reason that I say that is because you need to understand that part of what you're doing is not easy, right? Especially separating yourself in the environments that you spend a lot of time. Because the places where all the peasants are is the places you'll get invited to the most. It's peasant activity. Of course you will, okay? If you're a beautiful, attractive girl, of course the peasants will want you to spend more time with. Of course they will. Of course they'll want you to waste all of your time in the peasant activities so that they can bring you down to earth and not have you be a princess. But you need to understand that's not where you belong. That's not what defines you. That's not how you want to be perceived or present yourself. I know it feels very serious and very heavy to some of you, but it's very important to understand how this works. Because I want you to understand why you're not receiving what you think and believe you should be receiving. And I want you to receive that. But I also want to point out to you some flaws in the way that you've been approaching that you may have not thought of before. And I'm telling you this as a man, right? Tia says, can we go and just ignore men to the club or to the bar? Yeah, of course, going to the club or to the bar doesn't make you a bad person. I am a human being. I go to the club or the bar. I'm not saying that that makes you a bad person, but you have to ask yourself a question. If I'm meeting every man that I ever interact with at a club or a bar because that's where I spend majority of my free time, then we have a problem. Because now when you're frustrated about not receiving princess treatment, but you're spending majority of your time in peasant activities, now we have a misalignment. Now we have an issue. And in order for you to change the way that men receive you and how they see you, we have to spend less time doing peasant activities. Doesn't mean you can't partake every now and again. And we want to spend more time doing princess activities. Everything should be in alignment. Okay? Right? Queen Bee says those guys look for low-level women precisely, right? Okay, let's hop into our next point, right? Hope some of you are coming to some realizations here, even if it's a little bit painful. Okay. All right. By the way, I should mention this, right? Princess activities can still be fun, okay? Don't think to yourself that the only thing you can do has to be like super serious. You can't enjoy life or have fun or enjoy yourself at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not the no fun guy. But I do want you to take life seriously, and I want you to take the way that you present yourself seriously. That's what I'm trying to instill in you, okay? So, with our point number 6 here, now, I don't want some of you to get this wrong, so I'm really going to try my best to explain this to you properly in a way that makes sense to everyone. All right, so don't worry. I know this looks weird when I'm drawing it. Don't worry. We're gonna discuss. Ooh, your head's kind of misshaped here. Okay. All right. This is a very important concept. So number 6 is about the show. So you know how we have in tandem show and tell? This show part, and what I'm referring to, is when you go out and you meet a man, you want to be able to tell him and show him essentially about how you have been approached by other men. Now, I'm not talking about approached in the sense of, oh, another guy asked me out on a date yesterday, or another guy did this for me, did that for me. What I'm talking about is we want to help men understand from the very beginning, because everything has to be in alignment. Your self-talk, the way you dress, we want to help them understand from the very beginning that you are used to a certain type of treatment from people in your life in general, okay? There's a particular type of treatment that you have come to expect and has become familiar to you in life. So how does this work practically? When you go out on your date, right? As you're having conversation about your life and activities and your past and where you've been, I want you to sneak in some stories here rather than trauma dumping. I want you to sneak in some stories here about things that your ex did for you. And specifically things that your ex did for you that were over the top, that would be considered princess treatment. So for example, oh, he asked you, have you ever tried Italian food before? Yeah, actually, when I was dating my ex, he did like this whole big surprise thing and took me to an Italian restaurant. He had like flowers and everything and rose petals for Valentine's Day because he knows I love Italian. And that was like, I really loved that restaurant. We had like a fried, gnocchi, whatever they call it, spaghetti Alfredo, fettuccine, whatever, okay, that they eat at the Italian restaurant, and it was so amazing. So the reason that I'm saying that is because when you sneak that story in, right, and you sneak multiple stories like that, you don't have to keep saying my ex, my ex, my ex, but when you sneak some stories in like that, you're showing him that you have come to expect particular type of treatment. Now, I know the very first thing some of you are saying, Tomisin! My ex treated me like trash. He didn't do nothing for me. Didn't take me out anywhere. He wasn't nice to me. Didn't compliment me. He gave me zero treatment the entire relationship. I have no stories to tell. Okay. If you don't have a story to tell about a past partner, in an example of how someone gave you princess treatment, then you're going to use some fam, or you're going to use a friend, okay? Right? Because all we're trying to do is we're trying to show him that you have come to expect particular treatment from just people in your life, that people in your life go out of their way for you, or try and do nice things for you, or try and, just help you. You live the soft life, right? That's the life that you've already come to understand and know before you even met him. And it doesn't have to be something super extravagant, right? It can be something like, oh, my friends, they threw me a surprise party and brought a bunch of food and it was a really nice, amazing, awesome thing. Or it can be something even smaller like, oh, when my dad knows that I'm kind of upset or stressed out, he goes and he buys me ice cream, on my favorite ice cream on the way back from work, right? These are the type of stories that you can just throw in there, even if you don't have an ex story or you feel uncomfortable talking about your ex, that will still represent the same thing. I live the soft life. I've come to expect that type of treatment from people in my life where they actually do things for me. They actually, it doesn't have to necessarily mean, oh, they overextend themselves, but I get good treatment from people. They want to go out of their way for me. People like to do things for me, right? I've come to expect that. Now, what we're doing, and the reason that I drew this as a triangle is because as he's talking to you, and you're telling him this story, he's emotionally observing what it is that you're saying. So obviously, you're not able to actually show him this in action as it's happening. But in a sense, you're showing him this happening by telling him this story in a way that allows him to observe what you've come to understand and how you live and approach life and how other people approach you. He's observing that through your stories and creating an identity for you in his mind, saying, oh, well, clearly, this is how men, or just people in general, treat her. So clearly, there is an alignment between who she thinks she is as a princess and how other people are choosing to treat her. That means if I'm not ready to do things for her or treat her in that same way or categorize her that same way, then I probably am not going to be able to get access to her. Because they understand there should be some sort of alignment between how you have been used to being treated and how I expect to treat you. I have to either match that, or if she doesn't get any good treatment, then I get to, slack off and not do anything for her. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys so far, right? So it's very important, right, that you guys are able to show men, please show them that you are used to this type of treatment, even if in a way that doesn't necessarily mean it's about your ex or anything like that, right? Don't worry, because I know for some of you, you're like, I've never had an ex or I've never had good treatment from a man before. It's okay. You can use a family or a friend, right? Now, let's hop into our point number 7, which is so important. So important. Oh, some of you messed this up. Oh, God, I'm so glad we're going to talk about this today. I'm so glad we're talking about this today. I'm so glad. All right. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Please don't. Don't mess this up. Okay. So please do this for me. Number 7, feed it. I'm going to draw something out for you first, okay? So we have you. Did I spell obsession right, chat? Tell me. I think I spelled it wrong. Is this spelled right? Obsession? Tell me in the chat. I don't want to spell it wrong. I think so, right? Okay, so with our point number 7 about feeding, what am I discussing here? Don't make this mistake, which a lot of you might make. When you start dating a guy and he's giving you good treatment, or he's talking about how amazing you are, or he's starting to see all of the things that we've been wanting you to emphasize. And now he's feeling like, oh, I really like you. I want to do things for you. And this is the thing that will happen to guys sometimes when they really start liking you and they start snowballing in this direction. They'll be like, wow, like not only are you beautiful, but your aura is there. I just want to do things for you. I want to be with you. I want to talk to you. I want to see you. I want everything you, okay? They'll just start yapping about how much they want you. Cool, right? Your strategy is working, but you don't want to make the mistake of not properly feeding this cycle so that this can continue. What do I mean by feeding. See, when he starts to communicate that, hey, I want to give you princess treatment, whether he's saying that or doing that, and telling you how, oh my God, I just want to keep giving and keep doing this and keep doing that. I don't want you to say, oh, I don't deserve that. Me, oh, I'm so shy. I don't think I can take that. That's too much. That's too big. That's too expensive. That's too, no. When he communicates that he's becoming more obsessed with you, you say, oh, you're becoming more obsessed? Why are you so obsessed? Tell me. What is it about me that's making you so obsessed? Is it my dump truck? Is it my face? Is it my amazing personality? I don't know. And then when he tells you that, right, this is part of you feeding it. When he tells you that, oh my God, you don't understand, like being around you, it's just like, I just want to breathe you in. And I've never felt like this around another woman before, right? This is when all of this is working, right? This is what will happen. I've never felt like this before being around another woman. I can't believe it. I feel like I just want to do everything for you. I just want to be the man that you need. So then you're going to say, oh, wow. So crazy to hear that from you. Wow. That's so sweet and kind of you to say. I appreciate that so much. And he'll be like, I just don't know. I don't know what you do to me. I don't know what you say to me. And you just, I don't know either. I'm so lost. I'm so confused. I just try my best to be myself. But like, tell me, like, describe to me, what is it that you love so much? And let him keep going on this cycle. Because when you can feed it like that, you're also aiding him. This is going to sound very strange, but you're aiding him in convincing himself of why he's so obsessed with you that will lead to him being more obsessed with you and continue to treat you that way. What I don't want to happen is I don't want you to, one, ever discourage him from giving you princess treatment. And number two, I don't ever want you to come across as if you don't feel like you're deserving of that. So this is why this is a very important balance to have. Because as you're feeding it, you don't want to come across as arrogant, right? The point of this and feeding this is not to be like, oh, you're giving me princess treatment and that's exactly what I expect from you. That's exactly the type of treatment I expect from you. That's exactly the type of words and actions I expect. You don't want to make it seem like, oh, if you don't do this, then you're cooked, or I'm forcing you to do it. You want to make it seem like, oh, as I'm receiving this amazing treatment from you, I appreciate it. I'm not saying that this is the first time someone's ever done something nice for me. I appreciate it, but I also am too naive, too feminine, too soft to really even know what it is I'm doing that's making you so obsessed with me. I just don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew, but I can't figure it out. Can you, big strong man, explain to me why you're so obsessed with me? I'm so feminine and so soft. I can't figure it out for myself. See, this is going to sound weird, but this is part of your aura. Okay? Right? That's part of your aura, is having men feel like you're not doing it on purpose. I'm giving you advice. That's going to sound very weird and strange to do. And when you're actually doing it and it's working, you're going to feel so silly, but it works. Okay? Part of getting princess treatment is pretending like you don't know why all these men are giving you so much princess treatment. And I don't mean pretending like you don't know why from the standpoint of saying you don't deserve it, but just letting them be obsessed, letting them treat you well. You're obviously going to be appreciative for it, but you're also not going to be like, oh, I'm forcing you to do this, right? Oh, wow, you did something so nice of me. How kind of you to go out of your way, right? Let the emphasis be on the fact that he went out of his way despite you never even asking him to do anything for you, never forcing him, never trying hard, never doing anything to make this happen. Keep emphasizing that idea and your naivete towards the situation of why he's doing so much for you, right? That, yeah, I've never strategized or tried anything in my life. I've just shown up as me. And I promise you, it will lead to more obsession because they'll feel like you're so magical that just walking around with you is fairy dust and you've sprinkled fairy dust upon him that he can't control himself. It's a great place for men to be. They like to live in their own fantasy too, okay? So you don't have to tell them that you've been learning all these strategies from me and picking up on how men think and what they want and what turns them on and what they desire. Just let them think your aura and your vibe and your essence has made you who you are. And let them live in that obsession of being with you and being around you and wanting to breathe you in, okay? It's great for you. You'll continue to get princess treatment and he won't even know your deepest, darkest secret. Okay? So, does any of that, do you guys have any questions about the 7 we just discussed? I know we went long, but The whole point is the full guide towards princess treatment. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of cover everything that consists of, right? This is kind of the final one because I want to make sure you can keep the process going, keep the cycle going, okay? Does that make sense to all you beautiful people, right? Do you guys have any questions about what we discussed? By the way, if you have a personal question for me, maybe you're hearing this and you're like, Tomisin, I've done princess treatment really wrong. I need to redo it. I need to readjust. Or even if it's not related to this and you have a separate relationship question for me, you can all ask me your private personal question by going to the link in my bio if you're watching on TikTok, or in my description if you're watching on YouTube. Click where it says private relationship advice, and then you'll be able to type out your question as long as you want, as many details you want. You'll send it in to me, and I'll respond to you with a voice message, and I'll send it back to your email. And then you'll be able to get your advice that way directly from me. You'll hear my voice, so you'll know it's me answering your question. My answers are usually like 8 to 10 minutes long, depending on how long your question is, okay? Someone said, oh, please recap. For those of you who want a recap of all the things that we discussed, don't worry, okay? I got you. All of the points that I discussed here are all on my YouTube channel. For those of you watching on TikTok, if you go on the top right corner of the screen, you'll see where my name is. It's not a clickable link, but just type in my name on YouTube. You don't just have to type in my first name, Tomisin. Then you click, you'll see me live there on YouTube at the same time because I'm live in both places at once. And then you'll be able to watch the stream there, and you can rewind it right now. And rewind it to all the different points that we discussed there exactly as I said it. So there's your recap there on my YouTube channel. You can access that literally right now as we're speaking, okay? Bree says, y'all just do the work and you can be the it girl. It will work initially, but if you aren't her, the mask will slip. Yeah, so obviously part of it is about actually being it and embodying it, right? To be a princess, you just can't put on princess clothes and expect it to work. Like, you really have to embody it, right? Kit says, how would you bring back the spark after the princess treatment phase dies out? So the same idea applies to you as well, right? When I say the same idea applies to you, in the sense that all you have to do is figure out how you can embody these things that make you come across as a princess. Now, if you do all these things and you embody all the stuff that I'm discussing, and your man still chooses not to treat you like a princess, well, that's because he never really had any true investment in you in the first place, in which case that's a totally different story, right? Bittersweet says, is it appropriate to talk about the way you treat yourself pertaining to point number 6? Of course, of course, of course. Bittersweet, that's a great question. And I apologize for not addressing that. Of course, in your self-talk, right? The way you treat yourself is also part of your self-talk. The things that you take yourself to, whether it be spa treatments, you take yourself out to eat, you take yourself out, you just care for yourself, give yourself bubble baths, all that good stuff. That's considered part of your self-talk. And it also can be considered part of the way that you show men the type of treatment that you already exist in and expect just in life, okay? Because you're communicating to them your mirror, right? And how you see yourself and what you've been living in. That way, instead of you having to say, I expect you to treat me like a princess, it's very clear that you don't understand anything other than princess treatment. So if he was coming in your life to give you anything other than that, he's not going to be here for very long, right? Sometimes when it comes to communicating a message to men, being less direct is actually more direct than you realize. So that's how you kind of show men in a sense of your self-talk, right? Kat says, I always did everything you said. It didn't work with one man, but with the other, with another, is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. And the difference is, does he actually have a desire to be with you? I know it sucks to hear, but sometimes as a woman, you might find yourself in a relationship with a guy that doesn't even have an actual desire to be with you, just because you're focused so heavily on trying to make a relationship with him work, but he is not on that same page with you. So the very first part of even receiving princess treatment is actually choosing men who have a desire to be with you, not trying to force men who have not shown you any desire to like progress a relationship forward, trying to force a relationship with them or trying to force it to work. That's the main reason why with some men you might be with, it works perfectly on the spot, and some men you might be with, it doesn't work at all. Because if he has no real desire to be with you or build a relationship with you, how would that possibly work? Nothing you're going to change or you're going to say is going to make him want you if he doesn't even want you. And some of you are in relationships with men that don't even want you, unfortunately. Okay. And that's a totally different thing. Emro says, I was on a date yesterday and I missed out on the previous treatment. I think did you mean to say princess treatment? How can I catch up? Well, you catch up by course correcting, right? It's only been one date. If it's only been one date, all you have to do is course correct for the next date. You don't have to do a whole big long recovery and things like that, right? Just course correct, use this advice and implement it on the next date. There's not going to be that much damage done based on one date. LP Baby says for 0.5 environment, what about your girlfriends? If they are a little ratchet, no shade, I'm a little ratchet too, and have poor manners, would guys lump me in with my friends? I like them a lot. Okay, LP Baby, that's a great question. And my answer to that question is, what do I tell all of you about when you meet a man's friends, what you should be taking from that information? Okay? I want some of you who have been here for a while to tell me, what do I tell you all about meeting a guy's friends and what you should take from that information when you meet them and they're all one particular way, right? Bittersweet says, you are who your friends are. Okay? Bree says, the birds of a feather. So, not saying that to attack you, LP Baby, or any of you who are in that situation. But if that's what I advise you to do, to gather more information about the men that you're dating, what do you think the men are doing when they're trying to gather more information about you? At least the smart and intelligent, emotionally intelligent men. So if there's misalignment in your friendships and the women that you hang out with, because you know they don't necessarily represent you how you want to be represented, then that's a moment of self-reflection that you have to do in thinking about whether or not you're surrounding yourself with the right people. And see, the thing about it is, some of you might come to a place where either you're hearing me talk or you've just gone through a little bit of a spiritual journey through the past couple of weeks or months where you've realized maybe you're not aligned with the people who you used to spend time with. And trust me, especially for those of you who are in your 20s and even early 30s, this time will be apparent upon you at some point. If you're looking to grow and progress and get better in life, you'll come to a realization, maybe the people I was spending a lot of time with before are not people that are going to be friends with me for the rest of my life. But that realization, while it might be painful, is part of your growth. So if you ever, LP Baby, or anyone else gets to a point where you feel like your friends are misrepresenting you, it's time for a change. And I'm saying that as someone who had to make that change myself. Okay? I had to make that realization and make that change and adjustment in my friendships when I realized my friends were no longer representing me how I wanted to represent myself. Okay? And started re-surrounding myself with people who I felt like actually represented who I want to be and how I view myself. Okay? Lauren says, can you discuss the correlation between long-term relationship and getting them married and divorcing quicker than the long-term relationship lasted? You're saying you're in a relationship, you get married, and then the divorce is faster than even you guys were in a relationship? Well, there's so many different reasons for why that could happen, right? I would need more context on that. I can't just, speak on that in general, right? Coach Lilo says, how do I embody the concept of being used to people giving you things when I'm an extremely independent person and I'm not used to being given anything? So Coach Lilo, I think that's how you say it, right? Lilo? Or Leo. This is how you do that. You first have to start accepting things from people. And I know this is kind of like, it kind of sucks to hear that's the first step. But if you have a problem, and I know some of you probably struggle with this, some of you who have the problem with accepting things from whether it be men or people in general, in order for you to receive princess treatment, you have to get good at accepting things from men and people. Because I'm so glad you actually brought this up. I wish I would have made this a whole point. Maybe I'll make it a bonus point when I post it, the final edit. One of the things that will frustrate a lot of men when they're giving you princess treatment is your lack of ability to accept that from them. Remember how I talked about this obsession pattern and how you want to feed it? One of the ways that you'll actually stop feeding it and create a cycle in which you break this obsession pattern is by, on an ongoing basis, whenever he tries to do something for you, right? You either can't accept it or you make the process painful. What does it mean to make the process painful when it comes to men giving you princess treatment? I'll give you a perfect example. So let's say a guy, wants to do something really nice for you, and he decides that this, let's just say Valentine's Day that just passed, he wants to, even though you guys just started dating, he wants to get you a hotel and he wants to buy you a brand new dress that you guys can wear out, and he's gonna spend $500 on a hotel for one night. And he's like, oh, I want to book us a hotel for one night because I want us to stay in and I want us to do something really nice. And this is your response. Let's imagine it like this. Your response is, no, don't do that. I can't accept that. That's way too much for a hotel. That's way too much that you're going to spend on a dress. Like, it's okay. We can just go to a nice dinner. You don't have to spend all your money. Like, I don't want you to waste money on a pointless hotel. This is very bad. I know you're trying to be caring of the fact that you don't want him to go over the top, and I know you're trying to be the genuine person that you are, but the problem is when you make the process painful like that, or you make it very difficult to accept like that, you're actually discouraging men from giving you princess treatment. You want to be encouraging them and feeding into it. Wow, you're really going to do that? Wow, you're amazing. You are something else. I can't believe you did that. How did you even figure out how to do that? And how did you even figure out how to get this to happen? And you're the sweetest. Accept it. Make it easy for him to give that to you, because you're also teaching him something for the future. If you make that process painful, or if you make it very hard because you just can't accept, what he will stop doing is he'll stop doing those things for you. He'll stop thinking about going over the top for you. And in fact, a lot of times what will happen is after a while, he'll just stop doing anything at all. So you might be thinking, oh, I just don't want him to do the most, but I still want him to do some things. Well, what will happen is he'll just stop doing even the some things, and he'll just do nothing. And then you'll be confused down the line because you'll be like, but I still wanted something nice. I still wanted you to try, still wanted you to give effort. But when he was going over the top, you were either not accepting or making it very painful. Okay, so don't be that woman, and don't think that you're doing something that benefits you by not accepting or making it hard to accept it. Okay, let men show you how much they care, how much they're obsessed, how much they want to do for you. Let them show you that. Feed into it. Encourage it. And I'm not saying encourage it by forcing him to do it. Encourage it by letting him see that obviously you're appreciative of it, and letting him see that you love living the soft life. It's such an amazing experience for you to live the soft life. And as you're living the soft life, you're, loving him more and more every single day. Okay. It's a good place to be. Right. Carrie says, how can a single mom be seen as a princess or worthy of princess treatment? You can still do all of these things and be a single mom. That doesn't affect your ability to do any of these things, right? Now, obviously, if you're a single mom, there's different factors in terms of like when guys meet you, whether or not they're in a place where they want to be a father, or whether or not they're in a place where they want to, take care of your child or be a stepdad. That's a totally different story. But as it relates to receiving princess treatment, you can still do that from a man who is actually interested and invested in you by doing these steps. Okay. Does that make sense? Lauren says, yes, please stop being the cool girl and accept princess treatment. 100%. 100%. Allow it to happen. That's the other thing too, is sometimes even, who is it that said it? I think it was Carrie that said it. Yeah, Carrie that said it. Sometimes too, as a woman, you can have a limiting belief that because I'm this or because I'm that, I don't deserve princess treatment from any man. But that's untrue, right? And sure, in a perfect world, if you didn't have any children, sure, I guess more men would be willing to date you. But the reality of it is, whether you have children or not, that doesn't affect your ability to get princess treatment from a man. There's plenty of women who have children and still get the top of the top treatment from a man, okay? I wish I could, if I can log into Instagram, maybe I'll be able to send it to my TikTok, and I'll show you a video of a woman who's getting over the top princess treatment from a man who is taking care of her multiple kids, okay? So I'm not saying that to say I'm saying that to say it's possible. Okay. You can't use that as a limiting belief that you're not capable of receiving that simply because of the fact that you have a child or children. Okay. Flower says exactly like training a dog. Reinforce the good behavior, accept the reward, pat him on the head, ignore him, give him no attention, walk away if he treats you unacceptably. 100%. Right? Does that make sense? Someone says I need Tomisin Chat GPT. I can talk to every day. Maybe one day I'll make a Chat GPT version of me that you guys can ask questions to. Maybe one day. Maybe.
Abusive partners in the act of gaslighting. I didn't realize how well this technique is suited to expose them until my dud video went viral on TikTok and hundreds of people talked about it. The abusers were mad, of course, but that only means it's a good strategy. When it comes to planting duds with someone you are already in a relationship with, it's important to remember that they and you have established patterns with each other. If they already have a habit of poking at your insecurities or throwing hurtful things in your face, planting a dud with them is probably going to be redundant because you have been receiving actual grenades the whole time anyway. Regardless, planting a dud could still be a great way to have a concrete example of how your partner may be targeting you or your insecurities if you're still slightly unsure or if you'd like to stop making excuses for their behavior. In my opinion, one of the best kind of duds to plant when you are in a relationship with a potential gaslighter are physical object duds. Buy a new thing, perhaps a trinket or a small figurine, and openly express a positive sentiment about it. From then on, keep an eye on the object and do not bring it up to your person or prompt them for any kind of response, good or bad. How your partner chooses to treat or talk about the object is a direct reflection of you. One thing to remember when it comes to planting duds with a person you have already become familiar with is to make sure the reason you are planting the dud has a basis in a real suspicion, because it will help you come up with a dud that will make the most sense. For example, I once dated a man who gave me the sneaking suspicion that he wanted to make me feel insecure. So, for that reason, I planted an insecurity dud. Remember when I said that the best kind of duds come up organically? Well, in this case, at the time that I was seeing him, I was complaining about my annoying boss. While venting about work, I let it slip that there'd been a complaint about me. His ears perked up and he asked me what the complaint was. Being that planting duds tends to be second nature for me, and this man had already raised a few red flags, I saw an opportunity to put him to the test. First, I engaged in a bit of theatrics by making him work for it. I'd rather not say, I told him while looking down in shame. He assured me that I could tell him. I responded that it's something that hurts my feelings when it's brought up. He nodded sympathetically and was now even more intrigued, which was a huge red flag. At this point, he was practically begging for this information that made me feel so sad. I told him that the complaint about me was that I was too loud. Now, I pulled this one from a heated debate that me and one of my coworker buddies were having, in which she said I was getting too loud.
So, sorry, for those of you who are finding it hard to follow, what she's referring to is in a relationship, planting duds, planting seeds to kind of figure out how that person really feels about you and like kind of what their true motives are and how they really perceive you in a relationship sense.
And I was totally getting too loud. However, this was a one-off that meant nothing to me and had never been an official complaint about me. In fact, the coworker I'd been debating with had been affectionately dubbed the office loud talker. Regardless, I waited, making sure for the next few days that I was on my best behavior in terms of the volume of my voice. See, setting the person up for success. This guy suddenly found me to be too loud, and my loudness was now offensive to him. I would speak and he'd have to shush me or put his hands to his ears in annoyance. I walked too loud. I sneezed too loud. At one point, he lectured me about how unbecoming it was for a woman to be as loud as me. It'd only taken him 48 hours. This dud is one that I'm particularly proud of because it came to me immediately and worked perfectly with this person's personality. The thing about duds is that they're kind of magical in how they reveal themselves. Most times, when someone begs you for privileged information or sensitive information that is none of their business, that's a dud you can plant. Excerpt from a dud book.
So what this means is that she basically used the fact that she understood that telling him this thing, if it was negative about her, what she's trying to say is the guys that aren't really invested in you, don't really like you, they will take that negative comment, take that negative thing, and then they'll now see it as another reason to not like you or not, appreciate you for who you are, or whatever the case may be. So the example that she's giving, she's essentially describing the idea that that guy took that thing that someone else said about her. Oh, you're too loud, you're too rambunctious, you're too whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, you are too loud, you are too this, you are too that. People that generally don't like you or don't really want to, people that generally don't have real intense feelings for you are always looking for a reason to not like you versus a reason to like you. Someone who is in love with you would take that dud and be like, yeah, you're loud, but I love it. I'm quiet. So I like the fact that you're loud. It gets me out of my comfort zone, or it makes me get up and get excited and things like that. That's how someone responds that, appreciates you for being you versus someone that's kind of like they're in a relationship with you, but it's almost like they don't really like you. It's very weird, very strange.
So my issue is that I'm too avoidant to end up in a relationship, but I'm also too emotional to do anything less than a relationship. And while I do crave like the intimacy and the romance and all of that good stuff, the concept of being vulnerable enough to admit that I like someone to get to that point also disgusts me, actually, would be a better word to describe it. So I know that these are the issues that I'm facing. Does this mean I'm going to work on it? No, I don't. I don't think so, because that would require me going wildly out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to settle for being like really hyper aware of it and intellectualizing my feelings and my emotions and my issues. So my issue is that I'm too avoidant to end up in a relationship, but
I wouldn't say this on a date or anywhere. I'm not saying that what she said isn't, I'm sure correct and good logic, but what's the point of being with someone who identifies their problem, realizes why it's a problem, and doesn't even want to change or adjust to get, a solution out of it, or to resolve the problem, or to grow or get better? If someone comes on a date with you, okay, and I know she's the one saying this as a girl, but if a guy comes on it, even guys that come on dates with you, that you go on dates with, you should be gauging how much they're interested in growth. Guys that aren't interested in growth in any part of their life or in a relationship aren't really interested in what you want, which is marriage. Okay? Because marriage takes a lot of growth. You have to grow from the point that you're at to get to that point. If someone's saying things like this, yeah, I have problems, this problem, that problem, but I'm just aware of it. I don't really want to fix it. Just don't even go on a second date. It's pointless for you.
Can I tell you something? Like, I really don't care about men cheating or not cheating. I know it's shocking. All I cared about in my 20s is whether a man was faithful to me or not. I'm in my 30s now and I don't care. I mean, if my man cheated on me, I would cry and like be devastated and I don't know, maybe leave him or do some maneuver. But the point being is that I super cared. Like, I focused on it. Like, I thought about it all the time in my 20s. Like, what if he goes here and he cheats on me? What if he does this and he cheats on me? Can I tell you the secret? Like, in my 30s, and this is what you guys will understand once you get there, or maybe you haven't understood it yet, so it's time to understand it. I don't have time to care about what someone's son does so much. I now care about what I'm doing, how my business is going, what my kids are doing, what I need to do, what is that on the floor. That's more important to me, that's my daughter's shoes, than if he's cheating or not. Like, I cannot track some guy, okay? If he is, then he is, then we'll address it then and there. If he's not, then fantastic, we'll live happily ever after. Once you hit your 30s, you just stop fixating so much on what, and this applies to more than cheating, it applies to like his behavior in general, what he said, what he did. I get so many DMs from women being like, oh, he did this, that, and the other. And I really want to address it for you. Like, I want to like delve deep into it and really think about it. But the truth is, I can even hardly bring myself to read it because I just don't care about men as much as I did in my 20s. I think it's got to do with like estrogen or something, and you want to be a people pleaser and you want men to like you and you want them to like be faithful. You want all of that, all of that, all of that. I don't care. I don't want to track someone. Like, when it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, oh, fabulous.
This is the thing too. And obviously, it's easier said than done, but the whole idea and the whole concept is like, if you're with a guy that you suspect is cheating on you, like sometimes, we all get to this point. So it's not just because you're a woman, but sometimes you can get so lost in and invested in what someone else is doing with their time that you don't even realize, like, what's the outcome or what are the possible outcomes. If he cheats on you and you find out, then the relationship ends, or at least it should end, and then you move on with your life having your answer. Trying to figure out, if he going to this club tonight to be around a girl, which girls are going to be in this booth, which girls is he going to be around, where is he, like, all of that stuff is not the same. Result will happen. If he was going there to cheat, he would go there to cheat, and at some point, I promise you, you will find out if he's cheating. Okay, now if he's not going there to cheat, he was never going there to cheat. And there was nothing you were going to see or discover that would make it not so. So the reason I'm saying that is, like, sometimes, especially as a woman, you can get obsessed with the idea of controlling what your man does to make sure he's doing right. But the reality of it is, if he stops doing right, then just don't be with that man. And if he is doing right, then good. He's earned more of your time and your attention. But it's really that simple. You can't think of men as your sort of like toy to control everything that he does. Okay, the same way men can't think of you as some sort of toy they can control everything that you do, right? You have to invest majority of your energy into yourself and only bother showing up for people who are actually willing to show up for you. And that's really it. You can't be overly invested in trying to, like, figure out every single little clue and going around every single corner and dusting up fingerprints and searching the following this. There's some videos that some of you sent me and they were about, like, Instagram and figuring out followings. I just delete them. Okay, I don't even want to put that up here because I don't want any of you guys doing that. It's way too much energy on men.
There are two laws. One of them is make others come to you, and the second law is use absence to create honor and respect. And the idea is, if you're always going after the other person, if you're always the pursuer, etc., they start to take you for granted. Sure. You're always the one calling and texting, you're in their face constantly, thinking that that's the way to make them love you. They take you for granted. They think you're so familiar that they have you wrapped around your finger a little bit. And unconsciously, they lose a bit of respect. They may not say it, but it'll come out in their behavior. And over time, the spell of love will kind of diminish. So you want to step back, you want to create some distance, some absence, and you want to make them come to you instead of you going to them. If you make them take a move towards you, then the game is reversed. The dynamic is reversed. Now the power is a little bit more on your side.
And I think that this works. I love Robert Greene, so I do agree with a lot of his theories. And I think it works best in practicality for women because you are in a position of, in your femininity, you're not supposed to be doing a whole bunch. And maybe it's because we're in 2025 and equality and all this good stuff has made you believe that maybe you should be doing some of the guy's role and be, messaging him, oh, guys, they're, a little bit more in their soft era now. The guys are a little bit more shy now. They don't come up to... So if the guys aren't coming up to you, then they ain't getting to speak to you. You should be thinking about it like that. If you don't have the courage to come up to me and speak to me, then sucks for you. You don't get an opportunity with me and you're never going to see me again. Okay, that's how you should be thinking. You can't be thinking of, oh my God, what if he doesn't come up to me? Then I'm not going to be able to talk to him and then I can't get his... So? Who's missing out here, you or him? So?
I love you, babe.
You put deodorant on?
Why am I musty?
Oh no, I smell a little Patrick Ewing going on there.
Babe, I
Michael
ate
Jordan.
guacamole. Yeah, nigga. Wait,
Oh, you did?
I did. I got deodorant. It might be like we both had Chipotle.
No, maybe it's the material that is. Yeah, I think it's the material.
Babe, I don't love.
Yo, okay. Tell me something weird right now. Okay, we're just me and you. We're still nobody else here. Have you ever, like, smelled your partner's armpits and been like, like they had some BO and you like was like, nah, you got BO, but like, let me smell it again. Because like it's BO, it's nasty, but like, when it's like you see, just like you smelling the BO, but you like, damn, I mean, it's BO, it's nasty, but like, let me smell it again. Anybody ever done that? It's just me and you. I'm just saying, I've never done that, so I really don't. I'm just bringing it out there because I've never done that. I'm just seeing if any of you have ever done that. I'm just trying to see. This biology. No, yuck, yeah, nasty, disgusting. I would never do that. That's actually disgusting. I would never do that, chat. Like, I don't even know why. Anyways.
Another thing I learned from being around rich, successful, smart people, especially women, older, wiser women. I was just with my friend and we were with her mom, who is, I think, close to 70 years old. The woman is stunning and she doesn't give a shit, and she's so confident, and like you don't even need to talk to her, she just has that energy, like she does not care, and I love that. And I feel like that comes with age and it comes with experiences, and she was the one who told me, she's like, you have to be mean to guys and you have to be unavailable. Oh, you know how the conversation started? We were so my name is Sasha, which is a Russian name, but I'm not Russian, I'm Czech, and everyone thinks I'm Russian. And like, if you know history, like whatever, there was like issues between like Russians and Czechs and whatever. So like, it's just funny when people think that I'm Russian. And my friend was like, oh, do you go to a Russian Orthodox? Are you Russian Orthodox, like the church? And I was like, Russian? What? And then we started talking about Russian girls, and I'm like, Russian girls, they're so mean to guys, but they get any guy that they want. And then her mom was right there, and my friend was like, what do you think? Like, what's your advice? And she's like, be mean and be unavailable.
I think the reason that this works so well, especially with rich guys, is because if you think about the idea of what rich guys are experiencing on a regular basis, it's quite literally the opposite of what they're always experiencing. So rich men, powerful men are the most desirable types of men, okay? They have resources, all the good stuff that the women want. So if you think about that logic, if I'm a rich, powerful man and I'm decently attractive, then when I meet a girl, she's very likely to have a desire to be my wife or my girlfriend, which means anything that I ask from her at that point, she'll probably say yes to instantly. If I get used to that from every woman and every experience I have with a woman, at a certain point, that becomes my expectation of all women. But the problem is, if I'm a rich, attractive man and I get everything I want from women instantly because of my access and my resources, it starts to become to a point where there's no woman that stands out in my mind. So the only woman that ends up standing out to the rich, powerful man is the woman that actually turns him down despite the fact that he's rich and powerful. Because then that's the one woman that's not impressed by his money and won't just say yes instantly, even though he has a lot of money and resources and he's a desirable man. It throws them off, which is why they end up marrying the woman who's very unimpressed with them, ironically.
The only thing you're ever going to agree on in a situationship is that you both do not like you enough.
Wait, is her hair just that slicked back, or is she actually, I think it's just that slicked back. Wow, her slick is on some different stuff. Okay.
The only thing you're ever going to agree on in a situationship is that you both do not like you enough.
That makes sense, actually. Makes a lot of sense. What she means by that is don't like you enough, in the sense that you don't like you enough to just walk away and like move forward with someone who can't commit themselves to you. And that guy also doesn't like you enough because clearly he doesn't want to commit to you. So it goes both ways. Her hair is really slick back. Really slick back.
I hate when girls be like, oh, I act just like a nigga. You gonna find yourself with a nigga that's DL. Cause he like that about you. He like that masculine energy. I hate when girls be like, oh, I act just like a nigga. You gonna find yourself with a nigga that's DL. Cause
he's not wrong, actually. The type of men who are oh, I wish I could show you guys this video I just seen the other day. I literally seen it earlier, but it's on Instagram. It's okay. I'll save it and I'll send it. I'll show it tomorrow because it's a funny video. The guys that like the really masculine women, obviously they're more feminine. That's why it's always, that's usually the dynamic.
I'm gonna tell you ladies right now that men never block girls. So if you're a girl and you got blocked by a man, just know you are a threat to society.
100% true. This is 100% true coming from the world of men. 1000%. If a man blocks you, he's 100% bothered. You 100% matter. Okay? 100%. Men don't block women for any reason. It's just not in our, we don't care. Okay? We just move on, talk to a new girl. If a guy goes out of his way to block you, whether he's an ex of yours, it was a situationship, it was a whatever, he cares. A lot. Actually, like a lot. For guys, it's a lot. Like you really have to, for a guy, that means he's either blocked you for one or two reasons. One, either he's still completely in love with you, right? Or number two, he's so obsessed with checking what you're doing that he can't help himself and he has to block you simply to just like stop checking what you're doing. Like he actually can't control himself, which still kind of means the first thing, which is that he really actually still has feelings for you. So yeah, guys don't block for no reason, right? They're always blocking for a very strong reason. And even some exes men won't block because they don't care. When they really care, they'll block you for real.
When a man's not in a rush to lock you down, it's not that he's not ready or needs more time. He just sees you as convenient while he keeps his options open. When you talk to the happiest married couples who have been married for decades, the story is nearly always the same. The man was obsessed with her right off the bat, and she was like, whoa, slow down. She might have even been like, this guy's kind of weird, but he showed up.
There's got to be at least 5 packets of sugar in that coffee. There's no way he has that much energy all the time.
For her, he pursued her. He showed her through his actions that he could be a good man for her and that he would take care of her. And finally, she was like, wait, I kind of like this guy. And then she was like, no, I love this guy. She didn't sit there auditioning for him and waiting for him while he figured out if he would choose her or someone else. When a man sees you as a prize, he wants to take you off the market. He's like, I can't have her out on the streets. Another man will scoop her up. He's not like, oh, well, I'm not sure. I gotta wait. He's a man. No. When you wait on a man, you're telling him, I'm a placeholder. You can use me. A man needs to be trying to convince you to choose him. A lot of you are scared of your own power. You're scared if you walk away from a guy who's unsure about you, you might come into contact with a king who wants you, wants the things you want, and is ready to treat you in the way you deserve. Stop living in fear and step into it. When a man's not...
Wow. He has energy for 3 people. I don't know how he keeps that amount of energy up. But I think it's a great point by Christian in the fact that when you allow yourself to be treated like an option, that's exactly how the men will treat you. And that's how they'll take you. That's how they'll approach you. And that's what they'll do with you. I tell you guys all the time, the men aren't evil. They're opportunists. So they're always looking for the best opportunity to get something for nothing and give very little while they receive a whole bunch from you. Okay? Right? Does that make sense? So that 100% is true. Oh, is my internet glitching out again? Oh, well. Whatever. It'll figure itself out. Oh, look at this. Now the internet won't even allow me to watch this next thing. Let's see how long it's going to take to figure itself out. I don't know if can you guys still hear me?
If you think of yourself as lucky, you literally see more opportunities. If you think of yourself as unlucky, you miss them.
Is it possible to change how you see yourself?
I do believe in a growth mindset. So I do believe that if this is resonating with you and like you're like, I feel unlucky, I might have this victim self-narrative. I do believe it's possible to change your perception of yourself. And that's starting with small moments of heroism. I think that changing your people skills, saying I don't like people and saying I'm gonna find a way to like people. Saying I'm bad at conversation, I'm gonna find a way to be good at conversation. To say I'm an awkward person, no, I'm a recovering awkward person. If we can begin to take those tiny experiments and change them one by one, we begin to have small moments of heroism, and that's how we change our self-narrative. But if you...
So I love this because actually it applies to what we talked about today. Remember how I said, oh, you guys were asking me, well, where do the princesses hang out? If the peasants are all in these places, well, where would the princesses be spending their time? And I told you the princesses are spending their time learning, growing, improving, and investing in themselves all. And this is a perfect example of that, right? There is always something that you can grow, improve on, work on, get better at. There's always something for you there that you can spend time doing. But if you're only thinking of your life as, you know, living in the most low vibrational, low quality version of yourself, then that's all you'll think there's time to do, is to go and be at the club or be at the bar or be at the whatever. But when you start thinking of life in a different way of like, okay, what can I improve in? What can I invest in? What can I get better in? What can I grow in? Then life becomes like this, you know, world of opportunity to just do things that build you up and make you a better person and a better version of yourself. Okay, right? Someone said, don't forget shopping. Shopping is also upgrading your wardrobe, right? So that could be part of it.
We don't fall in love with another person. Not really. We fall in love with the version of ourselves that comes alive in their presence. Version of us that feels more free, more radiant. Love so often becomes something we see as existing over there in the beloved. And when they leave, it feels as if they've taken the love with them. But no. Love doesn't belong to them. They were the catalyst, not the container. They ignited a spark for something that was already smoldering inside you. Love, that's your very nature. You're the container. Love is you. The real question isn't about losing them. It's about remembering who you were when you were with them. Remembering how you felt. What did you feel? Joy, freedom, a sense of possibility, a sense of lightness? You generated that. It wasn't imported, it wasn't borrowed, that was you. It was yours all along, even if you didn't realize it. The great lie is that the absence of the beloved means you've lost something essential. Great truth is that the essence of love, the depth, the beauty, the expansiveness, is something that's within you all the time. It's portable, it's infinite, and it's not dependent on any one person to activate it. You're capable of feeling that depth of love again. Not because someone else brings it to you, but it's because it's who you are. The right person might help you remember it. They might draw it out of hiding, but make no mistake, that love is yours. It's you.
Wow, I was just going into like a really great point. Really great point. It was really great what I said. Anyways, when you get to a point sometimes in a relationship where you're saying to yourself, oh, I love who I am around you. And I love the person I am when I'm with you. You have to realize that you are that person with or without the person that you love, if that makes any sense. And if you can just pinpoint exactly what you were doing or how you went about life or the things that you started doing differently when you did love that person or you were with that person, then you can feel that way about yourself again. Because sometimes part of being super happy in a relationship or loving someone a lot is loving the way that you are when you're around them, loving the way that you're nurturing, loving the way that you care about things, loving the way that you see life, loving the way that you approach life, loving the fact that you're going out and enjoying things, but you can still have that and be that version of you without that person, not in a bad way, but that's within you. And that's, I think, what he's really saying, right? Like that's always within you, regardless of that person being there or not.
Here are my best dating tips for those who are looking to date for marriage. For context, I'm engaged to the most amazing, wonderful fiance who does everything for me.
That's a crazy flex she just
Here are my
did.
best dating tips for
Look at
those
that
who are
flex
looking
she
to date
just
for
did.
marriage. For context, I'm engaged.
She said, what are any of y'all talking about? I have a 5-carat princess cut, or what is that cut? That's a crazy, it might be emerald cut on my ring. This rock so heavy, it overtakes my entire hand. Can you see that, you peasants? That's what she's really saying by posting this video. So if you want advice, listen to me.
To the most amazing, wonderful fiance who does everything for me. He buys me everything I want and more, and also wakes up with me.
Is that a Van Cleef necklace too? Oh my gosh, she's flexing.
5 a.m. for my work every morning just to pack my bag. First things first, don't obsess over men. Humans are wired to desire what is scarce and uncertain, so by you doing that, it kind of gets rid of the mysteriousness. Multiple research studies on relationship dynamics have confirmed that excessive pursuit lowers perceived value.
Are those Van Cleef earrings too?
Sadly, the more we obsess
I didn't even know Van Cleef makes earrings.
over a man, the less they value us. Second, your time is valuable. Don't waste it on a man that you know is not going to be a good fit just for a nice dinner date. Back in college, I used to go on dinner dates all the time. They were really lovely, but I realized that I was wasting so much time with people that had no relationship potential. That's when I actually controversially...
Oh, you guys can't hear me on TikTok? What's going on? Is it like actually muted or you just can't hear my audio? That's very strange. Let's keep going. Let me see what happens.
switched to coffee dates, and they would only last for 15 minutes. If I decided I did not think that it was a compatible situation, I could just dip without having to make up an excuse. I'm never going to tell a girl to lower her standards because I have very high standards myself, but it's important to communicate those standards. I express very directly what I want from the first date, when I want to be engaged, when I want to get married, when I want to have kids, and my aspirations in life. So if they don't align with the other partners, then you know it's not a good fit. You can say, here are my expectations. If you're unable to reach them, then you can find someone with lower expectations than me, and I can find someone who can. I'm not trying to be harsh or anything, but I think that's just the reality of things. From my experience, men have found it to be attractive for me to so directly state exactly what I want, so neither of us waste our time. Ultimately, it's about vocalizing and enforcing your standards, having self-control, and most importantly, staying calm the entire time. I don't usually do this sort of content, but I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about my relationship and things like that, so I thought this could help. This is just...
And final flex there. Although I do think that is the overall audio glitching, because then that means it's not my mic if the audio is glitching, because if it's both things, then that definitely means something else. But I think that it's even though I get what she's trying to say, I don't think that being overly direct with men on what you want and what you expect from them is necessarily how to go about it. Now, having boundaries is great, and I want you to have boundaries, and I hope to God that you have lots of boundaries. But I'd rather you just show them that through the fact of you don't accept when he shows up less than for you, and have him understand what your boundaries and standards are and expectations are through that, rather than you telling him a whole bunch directly what your boundaries and standards are. I'd also rather you tell him stories of other men who crossed your boundaries or standards so he can see that you aren't willing to deal with that type of stuff. Okay, I think that's a much better way to go about that in that sense, because I just know that in today's day and age, the directness men don't really respond to that. Okay. Right. Someone says, restart y'all YouTube. It's fine. Yeah. From my end, it looks like the internet is working fine, and it doesn't look like there's any glitches. I think it's just some weird thing that's happening with YouTube, actually, because my internet doesn't look like it's having a problem.
I would love to know if you agree with this. This guy says, my wife asked if men could ever be 100% honest about our darkest fantasies. And to be honest, if there was a room that housed all of my fantasies and she peeked through the keyhole, she would scream, her pupils would dilate, and she'd permanently lose her ability to feel happiness and smell rain. So this person is...
Okay, all right. Like, I get it. Everyone has their own little KI and KS, but like, if it's that deep, you have some, like, you're okay. You're too far in the deep end, brother. Like, it's not that serious.
And she peeked through the keyhole, she would scream, her pupils would dilate, and she'd permanently lose her ability to feel happiness and smell rain. So this person is making two assertions here. One is that men's fantasies tend to be darker and more extreme than what they admit to.
Fair. That's 100% fair.
And two, that women are largely totally unaware of this. And also implying, without saying it, that when men do share what they say is their weirdest and freakiest fantasies, that is not the real stuff. That if you could figuratively just peek inside their brain, that you would be shocked on a visceral, physical level. I would love to hear from people of all genders. Do you think that is true? Or do you think this person is just exaggerating for effect?
No, that's complete exaggeration. Not all men have fantasies so wild and so out there and so crazy that it would knock your socks off and change your view. No, okay, this is not the reality. But 100%, The majority of men have fantasies about things that they have never shared with you, even if you were their partner. And that's the thing about. I'm gonna make a whole video about this. We'll have a whole discussion about this one day, about having the sexual conversation with your man about what he's into, what you're into, and you guys having a real sit down talk about what that is. Because I think that that's a very important part of you understanding your man and him understanding you in an honest way. Because even the thing about, I won't get too deep into it, but the thing about KINKSs and relishes, as we'll say, is that not all of them are created equal. So what does that mean? It means that just because a man thinks about something or would fantasize or wank off to something, does that mean he would actually want to participate in actually doing that? Not necessarily. So there can be KINKSs that a guy wants to fantasize about or dirty talk about, but he's not actually wanting to participate in that in reality. Vice versa, there could be KINKSs that he actually thinks about, finds hot, but would actually want to do in reality. So you have to be able to have in-depth discussion about the difference between those two and understand, why that's the case and what the limit is. Because even in a sense, this is going to sound really weird, but even in a sense, some things that men will ask for or say that they find hot, they don't actually find it hot to actually do. So the act of doing it is not hot to them, but the idea of fantasizing about doing it is hot. You might not get this if you're not on some freak stuff, but for the freak leaks, those are conversations that you should have with people, because I think that understanding will also help you better understand that guy. Okay. You might even be there for yourself in things that for you are like that.
I saw a TikTok the other day about a girl saying why she sleeps with people on the first date because of some bullshit that happened to her. And I was like, hold my beer. I came to this conclusion 5 years ago when I was 25 because of this bullshit that happened.
Wait, what?
Happened to me. I meet this guy on Nuit Blanche. We go on a few dates. He's a riot. So much fun. One night we go out for dinner in the distillery and we're having a good time. And I say, you know what? I'm gonna fuck this guy. Invite him back to my place. We start hooking up and he can't get it up. Fine.
I thought she was going to say he has a micro PP.
It's not the first time I've encountered that issue.
Would you rather a guy not be able to get it up or have a micro PP when you sleep with him for the first time? Which one would you rather? ED, erectile dysfunction, or a micro PP?
First of all, we were drinking at dinner. Secondly, he smoked a bunch of bowls because I used to love potheads. Like dysfunctional potheads were my thing, which is funny because I don't smoke weed. Anyway, I said, don't worry, we don't have to do this tonight. He goes, yes, I do. I shit you not, gets on the floor next to my bed and starts doing push-ups. I'm looking up at God like, girl, what
What are the push-ups going to do?
test is this? Gets back on the bed, he goes, turn over, I'm trying again. And I'm like, oh, no surprise, still doesn't work. He goes, you know what? It's because I exercised. I'm like, is that how this works? He's like, yeah, it's a blood supply issue. All the
I don't think that that's how that works. I don't think that that's how that. I don't think the push-ups was ever going to do anything, and it is a blood issue, like a blood, like circulation issue, but I don't think that that's how that works. I don't think doing push-ups is going to get him back hard.
blood went into my arms because I was doing push-ups. I'm like, oh, okay, well then just forget it. He goes, no.
So then why didn't you do squats then? Or is that what she's going to say?
Stands up, again, next to my bed and starts jumping up and down to get the blood back into his dick. Now I'm panicking. This guy lived in Newmarket. He did not live close. I'm like, how do I get this guy out of my fucking house? 1:30 in the morning. He's gonna fucking I'm like, I'm gonna have to pay for his Uber. But then I remember I have a world famous move. So I go into my roommate's room and I said, it's time for my world famous move. She's like, say no more. What is happening in there? I'm like, you would not believe me if I told you. Man is contorting himself to get blood into his penis. I go back into the room. I say, there's been a death in
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
the family. I have to go home. It's like, wait, what? I'm like, no follow-ups. I pack. Man is contorting himself to get blood into his penis. I go back into the room. I say, there's been a death in the family. I have to go home. It's like, wait.
Nah. You can call me too spiritual, too heebie-jeebie, too whatever. you don't ever use things that you don't want to happen as an excuse to get out of a situation. I get it. She wanted to get out of the situation, but my advice to you, don't ever be speaking death into your life or on any sort of family in your life if you don't actually want that to happen, because words are powerful. Hey, some of y'all, I know we taking it a little bit left. Words are powerful. Don't ever do that. Okay. I know some of y'all might want to get out of a situation, but don't ever speak on death like it's a game. All right. But whatever. I don't want to get too deep.
What? I'm like, no follow-ups. I pack a bag and I go and wait in the diner downstairs for him to figure out how to get the fuck out of my house. Then my roommate calls me and says the coast is clear. You would not believe how many men think that I've gone to a funeral or elsewhere, appointments at the bank, whatever. Well, I'm just in the diner down.
Yeah, make it an appointment at the bank. Just find some other emergency. It doesn't have to be a death in your family. That's insane. That's just insane to me. I don't like that stuff.
Downstairs like a loser. Maybe I should stop inviting these guys into my home. Anyway, after that, I said, I hear you loud and clear, God. You want me to sleep with everyone I meet immediately, so I am not caught in this trap ever again. Because you can leave someone at dinner if you
That's what she took. That's what she took from that experience. That's what she took from that experience.
with everyone I meet immediately, so I am not stairs like a loser. Maybe I should stop inviting these guys into my home. Anyway, after that, I said, I hear you loud and clear, God. You want me to sleep with everyone I meet immediately, so I am not caught in this trap ever again. Because you can leave someone at dinner if you don't like them after you sleep with them, but it is way harder to plan an exit or kick them out in the middle of the night. Very difficult. Anyway, if this hasn't happened to you, it's only a matter of time. You're gonna put in the time with someone and then they're gonna be doing jumping jacks in your sleep with anyone you meet right away. I saw a TikTok.
Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. Yeah, you know, when you go on dates, especially if you're meeting a lot of men on Hinge or Bumble, you're gonna meet some weirdos. Honestly, it's inevitable. Okay, I'm gonna start showing you guys some Hinge Bumble videos from the men's perspective. See how they playing games with you guys on these apps. But that'll be for another day. But trust me, the answer is not sleep with them immediately. I know, you know, when you have some embarrassing moments, it'll just turn you off and you'll be like, whatever, it's already done now and I don't want him anymore. But it's better for you to learn who the person is through the process of doing things other than sleeping with him rather than rushing it and just waste. You don't need to be wasting bodies. I don't understand this concept at all. I don't understand what she's doing here at all. I don't think this is a really funny joke. I don't think this is good advice at all. At all. Not even a little bit. Okay, please don't. Someone said us Toronto girlies better not follow her advice. I think she's from Toronto too because she was saying distillery. Distiller. I don't know if she was referring to distillery district. I hope that she better not be teaching girls from Toronto this advice, because it'll be tragic out here in these streets for all of us. All right, let's hop into our next segment of the show. Okay, for those of you who know how this works and what we do here, you can spam it up in the chat. For those of you who are new here, you might be very confused of what we're about to get into, but I will let you know right now. It is a special time. It is an amazing time. And it is a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. What should I do? Should I do loud or should I do quiet? Oh my gosh, you see my armpits? I'm working hard for you guys. time. Yeah. Someone said smells good. You're nasty. You're nasty. You want to smell my armpits? Let's hop into our Discord section of the show, okay? Now, for those of you who don't know what Discord time is essentially where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or their situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, there are a couple of different ways in which you can ask your question to me, and I'm going to explain them to you right now. The first way is by going into our free relationship advice forum and asking your question there by going to the link in my bio if you're watching this on TikTok, or in my description if you're watching this on YouTube. Then when you drop your question in there, it is a first come, first serve basis. So you can see all these highlighted questions that I still have to get to. That means I won't be able to get to your question today if you ask it today, because obviously there's a whole bunch that I still have to answer. Now, if you are impatient and you don't want to wait multiple weeks for you to get your question answered, which is more than fair, you can also drop your question into our premium relationship advice forum. And the way that this works is basically skip the line pass, where if you're in this forum, you're able to get your question read out before I go to the relationship free section queue, and you don't have to wait at all. I just answer it as soon as I see this and I clear this out first. Now, the way that you're able to access this and you're allowed to post your question in this forum is only if you go to the link in my bio if you're watching on TikTok, or the link in my description if you're watching this on YouTube, and you click where it says Premium Discord Relationship Advice. You click there, and then you ask your, not ask your question. You submit a donation, and then you also, with your donation, you put in the title of your username and the title of your question. And then that way I'm able to see your question, and I'm able to see that that's you and know that that's your username. And then I'm able to answer your question and know that you're supposed to be in this section here and keep it fair to everyone. All right. This last way to submit your question is for those of you who are not wanting to put your information on the show, and you want to get an answer to your question, but you don't want me to read off all your stuff. You can also ask me a question through our private relationship hotline. Now, the way that you access this is by going to the link in my bio if you're watching on TikTok, or my description if you're watching on YouTube, and you click where it says private relationship advice. Then you can ask your question there, and I will answer it usually within 8 to 10 minute response. Yeah, 8 to 10 minute response. And no one else will see it. It'll just be between me and you. Okay. Let's hop into our first question here, which is a private question. And this question comes from, who's it come from? This question comes from Princess in 4D. Supporting men, how? Thank you for your advice last show. I wrote that message to you when I was freshly off the phone with him. So I was in my feelings about the exact time of typing, and I couldn't see or think clearly. What Princess in 4D is referring to is before Valentine's Day, her man had a emergency in which he had to basically work extra shifts throughout the Valentine's Day and weekend as well, because he needed to pay for his mother's surgery. So she was asking me, should I be upset? How should I go about this? Just to give you guys a background, which is probably why I kept saying how upset I was. I took your advice and I have just been supportive. He ended up promising that he will make it up to me. So like I anticipated, if he really cares about you, I didn't even have to ask. He also still sent flowers to my house, despite us not being able to spend the day together. Anyways, I now have another dilemma that I've always had. Can you do a show on how to help or deal with a man when he is down, having a bad day, week, period in his life? What do men need in these moments? This is a good question, especially if we aren't official. I don't want to overextend myself, but I also want to be perceived as a wife. I'm naturally very nurturing. In the past, I've baked my partners their fave snacks, made them food, offered a listening ear, catered to them. However, this was before finding your show and in my past relationships. But I don't know if it's acceptable given me and Ghanaian man's current status of only dating 2 months unofficial with him. I've done everything right so far because of your show. As you know, the Ghanaian's man mom is currently sick. I don't believe he is lying because he's been super down bad. He's been stressed from working double shifts. Cooking for him would be hard as he lives 4 hours from me. I know he's sad and I want to be there for him, but I don't know how. What advice can you give to us women to help our men when they're down without feminizing him? I'm sure other women might have this question as well. This is a good question for sure. Maybe you can do a show on ways we can help support a man during tough times, or a show on how we can support him in different stages of the relationship. Since we aren't official, I don't want to do anything you wouldn't approve of given the time, you know? I think it would be helpful to give a guide for the ladies. Summarizing my questions below. How to help support a man during rough times. What do men need? Space, food, listening ear. How can I support him without overextending myself, especially if we aren't official, but I want to be perceived as a wife? How do I help him without feminizing him? Do I ask what he needs? Okay, so we'll go through all these questions. Urgent today. Tommy, Instagram is such an app. I like the reel that said, how I eat on a date knowing I'm not giving this man any cat. Ghanaian men saw my like. Oh, by the way, chat, this is a new thing. So all of you are up to date. This is going to be the new problem in relationships. Now, people, if you scroll through reels now, I have to keep you all updated. There's a thing now where if you interact with someone's profile a lot on Instagram, it will show you a reel and show you if the person you interact with their profile a lot, if they've liked that reel. It'll just be in like the bottom left corner and show you that that person liked it also. So the reason I'm saying that is I know we're in 2025. This is going to create a new problem in relationships that needs to be addressed, and people are going to feel a way about stuff. So just be aware of the things that you're clicking like on as it relates to reels, especially because it's possible that your man could scroll through it and he will see in the bottom left corner that you, or it's the bottom left or bottom or top right, that you have liked that reel. So just be aware of that, just saying, okay? And reacted with a laughing emoji, but today he hasn't texted me all day. What should I say when he asked why I like that? He literally just texted as I'm typing, which is unnormal because he always sends a good morning message. Oh my God, I hate Instagram. Why would it expose me like that? I need to spin this, Tommy. Please help. I know he's going to ask why I like that, and I want to say the right thing. Okay, so first of all, I would not address it until he asks you about it, simply because we don't want it to make it seem like you're like hiding something, number one. And we also don't want to make it seem like you're feeling the need to like recover from this. Because the worst thing that can happen in a situation where you feel like you made one mistake is by making more mistakes, by overextending yourself, thinking you need to like make it up by doing more things, okay? The way you make it up is never by doing more things. It's just allowing the situation to pass, especially something like this. Now, I know it's strange for him to not send you a good morning message, but just sit in your discomfort. I promise you at some point he's going to message you again because like you mentioned, he's going through a rough time and you're the person that's probably the closest to him right now. So he's going to want to talk to you and I'm sure he can look past a liked reel. Don't blow it out of proportion by trying to like recover. Oh, I'm so sorry about the reel. I didn't do anything wrong. If he addresses it, just tell him, yeah, I like the reel, but it doesn't have anything to do with anything I'm experiencing right now. Right. He also doesn't know when you like the reel. So theoretically, you could have liked that reel a long time ago. Right. I don't know. That might even be true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is recent. But don't make it a big deal by making you or him feel like you feel the need to like super apologize for liking the reel. Right. Just because you liked it, that doesn't mean it necessarily applies to what you're experiencing right now in this second, which is very fair. Okay. And mature people can understand that. Now, as it relates to the questions here that are talking about how to support him during rough times, I think for the amount of time you spent with him, which is for the most part only 2 months, I think all you can do right now is let him know when he does speak to you that you're open to talk to him and be on the phone with him. And the most important thing, that you will just be there to listen to him, vent about his life, about his work, about what's bothering him, and you will be an ear to him, and you want to encourage him to talk about how he feels. That's the main thing that I think you can give him at this time, is the emotional support and setting the stage for an environment where he feels welcomed to talk about what's bothering him. and talk about how he feels and talk about it, why he's sad and all that other stuff. MP says we're not his therapist. Understand this, MP, and any of you who are thinking this way. It's a virus if you think this way. You're a woman. One of your key superpowers as a woman in your feminine energy is to be able to help guys process and feel their emotions. I can assure you, if you adopt the mindset that you're not his therapist, I'm not going to help him process emotions, I'm not going to be a shoulder for him to lean on and talk to or whatever the case may be, I assure you, he will take that and he will go to a strip club, he'll go to a friend, he'll go somewhere else and he'll find someone that he can talk to. He'll find someone that he can feel safe with. He'll find someone that creates an environment that allows him to express himself and feel seen and feel heard. I assure you of that, right? A lot of women, they wonder, how do girls get to the point where their man's at a strip club paying for a stripper's time that they don't know and is sitting there and talking to that stripper, or continuously going to the strip club and spending time there and spending money there. They go there, funny enough, most men go there not even for sex. They don't even go there for the experience of seeing the girls. They go there to talk. That's the craziest part, okay? They go there to talk because they feel unseen and unheard in their relationship, or their woman adopts them. I'm not going to be his therapist. I'm not going to talk. That is literally, quite literally, one of your superpowers as a woman, okay? So never make that mistake. Part of your nurturing energy, your nurturing aura, and what you're good at is exactly that. Doesn't mean you have to let a man use you. But if this is your man or a guy you're growing with, you want him to feel safe with you. You want him to feel encouraged to talk about his feelings and be open and honest with you. He will feel so much closer to you, so much more attached to you, and he'll want to invest in you so much more because of how close he feels to you. Guys have emotions too. I don't know where we get this idea of men don't have emotions. They have emotions, but they are used to suppressing their emotions, especially if they don't feel comfortable sharing them or they don't feel like this is a safe space. Okay, right? So Jenny, you also let him hire a therapist. Perfect. Adopt that mindset and see how far that gets you with your men. If you want to pass off the responsibility of being an emotionally safe place to someone else, we'll see what happens in your relationship. Okay, we'll see. I'll let you have that for yourself. Now, as it relates to Princess in 4D, what I would advise you is to be a listening ear and to just show him that you are willing to hear him out on how he feels and what he's going through at this time, especially for you, Princess, in 4D, that he's going through a time that's really tough for him, right? His mother needs surgery, and we don't know how that surgery is going to end up for his mother, right? And obviously he cares about his mom. And so this can be a really, what's the word I'm looking for? This can be a really fearful time, full of fear and uncertainty for him in his life. Right. And so when we're thinking about how you're going to build this relationship over the course of time, you do want to show him that you're someone that he can lean on emotionally, that he can get things off of his chest. Because one of the hardest things for men to do is when they know that they have to be the man in the situation and they have to just put their head down and take action. Because obviously in your situation, Princess in 4D, not only is he having uncertainty throughout his mom's surgery, but he has to be focused on making money so that he can pay for his mom's surgery. So that's an extra added bit of stress on his mind and on his soul and his spirit. But this is the thing about men. A lot of times when they put their head down to just do work and get things done and take action, they don't stop to really talk about how these things are making them feel. And even talk simply about the fear and uncertainty that exists within their own heart. That, oh my gosh, I'm scared, that the surgery may not go well. I'm scared of what could happen to my mom. And I was at work and the anxiety just hits me sometimes and I don't know what to do with that, right? Even just being someone that says, I want to hear you talk about that. And I'm encouraging you to talk about that. And I'm here for you if you ever want to just discuss that. That can do so much for a man that you'll be shocked. Because all you're doing is listening, but you don't understand how powerful it is to feel like this is a place where you'll actually just be okay with listening. Okay. I know for you as a woman, it might not make sense why that's so important to just be there and make him feel safe, that you'll listen to him and just let him talk honestly. But it can really change how a man perceives you and sees you. And I think that this is the perfect time to show him that when he's going through something, that you will be there for him. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to call him every day. I'm not advising you to do that. It doesn't mean that you have to show up at his house. I'm not advising you to do that. All I'm asking you to do is when he does have conversation with you, remind him that this is a safe space for him to talk about anything he wants to talk about, anything that's making him nervous, making him uncertain, making him feel scared or fearful, especially as it relates to this situation that, you know, can turn out so many different ways. And especially when he has to be such a man and just focus on making money so that he can pay for his mother's surgery. And I think that that will go a long way in terms of addressing all of these things. And I think it's the perfect solution to what you need in this particular situation, right? Men deserve empathy too. I don't adopt this mindset. I know we talk about men and the things that they do wrong, but understand this is not a hate men show. This is an understand men show, and men need things too. Especially they need your emotional intelligence. They need your emotional awareness and understanding and ability to unpack and help them unpack things. They need that. You have to understand men aren't independent beings that can exist without you and your feminine nature and feminine energy. We need you. So you have to understand there's certain things that you're capable and good at and amazing at that we need as men. And part of growing in a relationship is realizing how much a man for himself needs you, the woman, outside of just the fact that you look good and he can jackrabbit himself inside of you. Don't make the mistake as a woman of making your relationship only about how good you look, taking you out on dates, and him jackrabbiting himself inside of you. You're so much more valuable than that, and we also want him to experience more of you than just that. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's hop into our next question here. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, we got lots to scroll. So let me make sure I don't skip anything. I gotta, okay, just want to mark these as red. Okay. And this question was skipped. Yeah, so did I answer this right? How to efficiently extract info? Yeah, I think I did this one. Okay. Okay, this one was answered too. Sorry, I'm just marking all. There's so many questions. I have to make sure that they're properly addressed here. Okay. This one says B. Thanks for your advice, follow up, and update. Hi, Tommy. I'm the 47-year-old female. Just wanted to answer the questions you asked me in your stream and give you an update. The DJ and girlfriend were in an open relationship. It was still a bad idea. Okay, so you're referring to a situation in which you met a guy, he's a DJ, and he had a girlfriend at the time. I was lonely and really attracted to him, is why I bothered to invest my time in him. I'm learning the lesson. He said he'd sleep with me again only if I had a boyfriend. What? Let me read this again. He said he'd sleep with me again only if I had a boyfriend because he didn't have the time to give that I was always asking for, and he didn't want me too attached to him. Okay. I said I should have said, see me now or not at all. No. You shouldn't have said absolutely anything. You should have just not spoken to him after that. Because I was tired of waiting to see him and thought I was putting my foot down. You're just putting your foot down and just moving forward. He said not at all. I asked him to block me. This is another mistake. You don't ask another guy to block you. You take initiative and you block that guy. Because he told me to leave him alone and not to talk to him for a month. I didn't want to do the dirty work since he was pushing me away. I do see it's inappropriate to threaten him and the girls he left with. It's hard for me to let go and control my anger. I was spiraling, going to a dark place, coming back to the light now. I watch your videos every day and see where I went wrong at every turn. I see a therapist 2 times a month. I deleted my Twitch account and app. Oh, yeah, sorry. So the reason she's referring to this is because she was watching his Twitch account and watching him go live with other girls and making comments about it or making assumptions about what he's doing or why he's doing it while he's live on Twitch. So, okay. When I think about him, I tell myself this doesn't serve me / it's a waste of time. I'm the genie and grant his wish to leave him alone. Perfect. I work from home and I need my, this is part of the problem, right? And I need my iPhone and app and internet for it. I can't get by with the flip phone. She's saying that because I advised her to get a flip phone after she sent her message in. I need my laptop for job hunting and the career I'm changing to. I'm trying harder to not watch / search him. What do you suggest? Well, obviously you can't do anything about needing the laptop and needing the phone. So deleting the Twitch account is the first step. Obviously you can always search up his Twitch account, but deleting it is the first step, and any other way that you might come across his content. And obviously deleting him on every, not deleting him, blocking him on every social media. That will obviously create way more success for you. I work from home. I don't have any friends and I'm always at home. So this is part of the problem. You work from home and then you don't have any friends that will take you out of the home. So now we really need to make sure we give you some things that will force you to leave the home. So you're going to have to get proactive here. Easiest thing for you to do, just go on TikTok, scroll through, type in things to do in whatever city you live in, and just start doing some stuff. Because we can't have you sitting in the house 24/7. You will, I guarantee you, you'll just fall back into a cycle of watching other people's lives and not living your own. You have to get out of the house. If you're not able to leave work and get out of the house, and you don't have any friends, we need to find you. You just have to start going by yourself. Even if it's as simple as I'll just go for a walk. Anything. We need to do anything. I'll go to the library, go to the gym, go to the something. Go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill for an hour, even if you don't like working out. We need to have you leave. You have to leave the house. If you sit at home all day, especially if you live by yourself, that's horrible for your mental state and mental health. I do need to make some friends. I did throw out everything of his and anything that reminds me of him. I had pics of us together on my Facebook and IG. Definitely delete those. I do want your help and advice. I was feeling so good taking care of me before I saw him on Twitch. Such a mistake. What should I do to get to a place and date again? And steps to date quality men my age. Number one thing is do not download Hinge. And do not download Bumble or Tinder or any of those dating apps. Because I know when you're sitting at home, that will be the very first thing that you'll want to do to start talking to men again. Okay. Honestly, I would, so, because I know you're probably going to say, but it's cold outside. I can't go for a walk. Okay. Go to your local gym, your local Good Life or whatever gym that's close to you. Just walk on the treadmill for an hour. Okay. Or 2 hours. You should be able to do that for 2 hours. Just go to the gym, walk on there 2 hours, and at least let that be the thing that you can easily do every day that will have you leave the house. You're going to go on that treadmill. You're going to walk 2 hours, listen to some music, listen to a podcast. You can watch a show of mine, whatever you want to do. And at least 2 hours every day, you have a reason to leave the house and see outside. Okay? I really mean that. You guys might not realize this. Some of you that are maybe you love self-improvement and you know a guy named Andrew Huberman, maybe you know this, but one of the things that you'll learn when you watch Andrew Huberman, he's like a doctor, fitness, health guy, is sun exposure is actually big towards your mental health, right? So if you're not getting any sun exposure because you're always inside, you're going to be less happy. Just simply going outside. The reason I say that, it sounds funny, go outside, but that actually like biologically changes, you know, your ability to be happy and feel good when you're soaking in sun and seeing some sun. It acts like, and I'm not talking about in a style like a heebie-jeebie spiritual, no, like on a biological level, like we were made that when we are seeing the sun and absorbing sunlight, we actually start to feel better, right? And it helps us, right? It's vitamin D. So what should I do to place a date? Yep, you said that. Quality time. I know to go to things I'm interested in, like art events, definitely no dating apps, right? Thanks for your patience and help, Tommy. Update, it's been 6 weeks now since I've gone to his Twitch stream when I last posted. Still no contact. I haven't emailed or called him. His number is deleted everywhere. I've had the urge to email him, but fought it off and stay strong. I think about him and miss him, but try to focus my mind on something else and doing something. I've stayed off Kick too. It's a stream site like Twitch too. I haven't listened to mutual friends streams either, where he would be in the chat. His mentions would still come up even if I blocked him. So I avoid the friend streams too. Perfect. Now you're getting the hang of it. The anger, thinking about how he treated me, still comes up, but I'm trying to work through it and channel it into something productive, like working out, job hunting, and making art. Perfect. You're on the right track. The bad things he said to me in our last conversation still make me mad. That's perfectly fine. Just keep doing what you've been doing. I promise you, eventually you'll stop caring so much. Like I'll treat you however I want to, and he doesn't think he did anything wrong. So he won't apologize. That's perfectly fine. You don't need him to apologize in order to move forward. No, he won't treat me however, and he definitely did something wrong in my book. That's fine. Doesn't mean that you can't move on though. He also said he doesn't miss me. Perfectly fine. Doesn't affect your ability to move forward and grow. That's what you need to be thinking about. Your videos on spiraling and how making a man regret losing you is pointless were so helpful. It was such a waste of time arguing with him and demanding an apology. His morals and behaviors are not in line with me as a relationship or even as a friend, and I need to just move on and find someone that matches mine. I'm learning don't try to be friends after pineapples, 100,000%. Thanks for reading my post and everything you do. So this is more of a little bit of a success story that you're working towards getting better and it's working for you. So I'm glad you're realizing some of the mistakes that you made there in the past and you're understanding how to actually take action in terms of helping yourself be successful in moving forward. So I'm really happy for you, B, and I think you're doing a lot of things right. And I think all you have to focus on is keep doing those day by day, and you will eventually get to a place where you say, I feel better. Okay. Now I know LP Baby was saying in the chat that I missed one of her questions. So let me go back down to answer this one, right? This is the question I think you were referring to. All right. Right, this is the one that you were saying. Question to clarify, please. Hi, Tommy. I'm seeing the salsa bachata New Year's Eve guy once a week in person for like 2 to 2.5 hours max per week. My question is how to make the best use of my 2-hour date because each date feels so jam-packed with me trying to extract as much information as possible. What's wrong with that? It's a bit exhausting because I'm a slow food eater and we usually have lunch/dinner. Any tips? Eat beforehand. Me and this bachata New Year's Eve guy are really busy, so we only see each other once a week. There's nothing wrong with that. And see, this is the great thing, LP Baby, is that when you realize how much you need to know about a guy before you fully jump headfirst into just sleeping with him or saying that you're ready for a relationship with him, dates feel like they're jam-packed. But that's a good thing. It's good that you spend 2.5 hours with him, but you feel like, damn, like I still want to know more. I still want to understand more, and I still have more questions. It actually prevents you from going on the date and feeling like, well, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to talk about. I don't know where to go with this, and allowing him to lead this and take it where he wants to take it, right? The fact that you feel like you need to know more and need to understand more is a good thing. And I want that to continue. The dates are jam-packed, so that's awesome. That's also awesome for him because lots of conversation is happening. It's interesting for both of you. So that makes the relationship that much more interesting. You don't have to change that. Those 2 hours go by fast, and I would like your pro tips on making the best use of my time to learn as much about the dude without it coming across as a rapid fire interview, and also maintaining my magic / desirable, I think you meant to say like aura. This feels like an art and time flies by so fast. Please help me with your tips. I don't think you have to rush this process at all. Let this process be the process. And also, the thing I would say is when you start getting good at asking good questions and guys get used to just telling you exactly how they feel and what they want, and they're going out on this long, trail of just stories and stories and stories, let them go. Like let them take it where they want to take it and see how he thinks, see where his mind goes, see how he processes information. I know this is going to sound really like analytical and psychological, right? Like you're a psychologist, but like when you ask someone a question and then you just say nothing and you let them go, you'll actually better understand how their mind works, how they process things, and how they take in information. It's actually really good. It's a good realization to have. And I think it benefits you in the long run because you'll better understand the guy that you're dating. The other thing is, and I'll give you a little bit of a pro tip. I'll give you the pro tip afterwards, okay? I'll give you this pro tip afterwards. It's a nice tip. He's already tried to kiss me. He got me an early Valentine's Day gift, stuffed animal. He's gone to my impromptu dance performance as I'm a dancer / performing artist without me inviting him. He's gifted me white roses after my performance. He's met my mother and gay bestie and my bestie's boyfriend because I was trying to be polite because I felt like it would be rude if I didn't introduce him and if I just ignored him after my show. That's perfectly fine. I have a feeling he's going to ask me to be his girlfriend, and I still feel I need to extract more info, such as asking him about his ex-girlfriends, why his past relationships ended, engaging his character. So then ask those questions, right? Before becoming his girlfriend. I like him too, and want to say yes, but I want to take things very slow and I want a relationship on my own terms. Recall, I got out of a toxic relationship the end of last year with the bi gamer boy. May you please put on your Players Club dad hat and give me your best strategy, okay? So here, these are good questions, LP baby. For you in this specific place that you're in, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, actually. And I think you're doing everything exactly how you should be doing it, and you're getting exactly what you should be getting out of this situation. Now, obviously, as it relates to taking it slow, I agree. You want to kind of keep pacing it and allowing it to grow. If you get to a point that he asks you, I would rather you respond. If it's like, let's say he asks you tomorrow, I'd rather you respond this way. You know, I actually really like how this is going, and I really like how we're building. It's not that I don't want to date you or be your girlfriend. I just want to continue growing and learning you. And then as we continue learning each other, I feel like we'll be better equipped to like have a successful, relationship once we spend a little bit more time getting to know and understand each other. So the reason I'm saying answer it that way is because you don't want the no to come across as if I'm saying no because I don't want to be your girlfriend. It should sound like I'm saying no right now because I still think we have a process of learning each other before we get to that point, which is very understandable. And any mature man would be able to understand that and be patient with that because nothing has to necessarily change. Now, if he doesn't ask you, you don't need to have anxiety about things that haven't happened yet, but just be prepared for that. If that day does come and you're truly not ready yet, that should be your response. Now, as it relates to the questions that you're going to ask him, you keep asking him questions and let him see where it goes. Now, the pro tip that I'll give you, and that all of you can take from this if you want a pro tip on how to approach relationships or situations, is whenever you're talking to a guy, and don't tell anyone I told you this. This is something I learned a while ago. Whenever you're talking to a guy, one of the cool things that you can do when you're talking to someone and you want to get more information out of them, people have a problem with silence a lot of times. And you'll be surprised how you can use silence to your advantage. So when a guy's answering a question of yours or just talking about something, sometimes when he takes a pause and you feel like he might be done, you have a desire to like fill that silence with something that you say. But here's the amazing thing about having conversation and getting really good at this. This is the pro tip. Whenever you feel that silence come on because you feel like he just finished saying something and now you want to fill the space in the silence by saying something else, just let it sit for a little bit. Count like 15, 20, even 30 seconds sometimes, and just let the space be just filled with nothing. And a lot of times what will happen is that person will then fill the space by adding on something else. And the reason I say it's a pro tip is because whether you use it in an argument, whether you use it in a conversation that's just a casual conversation, whether you use it on a date, a lot of times you'll end up getting more information than, first of all, you thought possible, but they'll end up saying something that you didn't expect them to say. It's a very weird, strange occurrence. If you ever have done it before or tried it before, you know what I'm talking about. But when people feel that silence, they tend to like go deeper into their thoughts. They collect their thoughts a little bit, and then they tell you something a little bit deeper, or they go like a level deeper, which is honestly awesome, because every time a guy goes a level deeper and tells you something that you weren't going to know otherwise, or maybe it wasn't on the surface there for him to answer originally, it always benefits you. Understanding a man deeper always benefits you as a woman, because you're able to process emotions better, understand them better, and then now you know what to do with those when he tells you what he's thinking, tells you where his mind's at, tells you how he processes information. All of that is good for you in your understanding of him and whether or not you really want to make this guy, your boyfriend, right? Okay. Let's hop into our next question here. Let me scroll down. Since I did that LP baby one, let me make sure. Okay, so now we have Zaki. Okay. Lack of communication, long distance. Oh boy. I am a 23-year-old female, and I am talking to this guy this new guy who is 21. Okay. At first thing, we're great. We would talk every day, and he would show so much interest. He would send me voice notes throughout the day and make me feel like he's really into me. Typical long distance beginning of the relationship. He is not in my country right now, but he comes every 4 to 6 months and stays for about 4 to 6 months when he does come. It has been 3 months we've been talking, and I send him pics, and so did he. Not saying this is the reason for the issue. Not sure, honestly. What type of pics are you referring to? Also, when you say he comes every 4 to 6 months, how is it possible for him to stay for 4 to 6 months? Does he not have work, a job? How is that even? I don't understand how this is possible. Let's go on. One day he just randomly starts getting distant, but on the first call we ever had, he told me that it would be that way. He said from the beginning he's not a talker, and after that it got bad and he hasn't recovered since. I feel like we have nothing to talk about, and it's always dry conversation, even on calls. He would say that he loves me and calls me every day for 30 minutes 30 minutes to 1.5 hours. And that would be our only interaction, and it would be mainly at night when he gets off work, and sometimes in the day. Sometimes nights he doesn't even call, and we don't talk or text all day. We don't text at all, just little chatter occasionally. It's only his one call a day I look forward to for us to really talk. He's coming in 3 months, but I don't know to just give it. So you got to do your spell check here. To give in to see if we have a connection in person, or just leave it alone because I already like him and I don't want to get disappointed. Okay. All right. So to answer your question here, the best thing to do is to leave it and let yourself answer for yourself. What would he rather do? So what do I mean by that is, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like a guy's not really engaged here, he doesn't really seem like he's that focused on like building this or trying to have conversation with you, there's not a lot of depth to the relationship, that is the time where you just have to take and you have to do. So if I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of reaching out, is he going to stop reaching out? If, the conversation is dry and nothing's really going, is he just going to let it die? Because the truth of the matter is, if he doesn't put forth any effort towards like building it up or making it work or trying to make it interesting or add some spice to it or whatever the case may be, then that really means that he's just not that interested in doing that. And the reason I'm saying that you have to take your hands off the wheel is because whenever it comes to long distance, and I tell you guys this all the time with long distance, the men that you're in a long distance relationship with have to be twice as intentional as the average man who's in a short distance relationship with you. Because in long distance, not only does he have to say, I want you, he has to say, I want you so much that despite the fact you're far, I'm going to make sure that even throughout the distance, I make a relationship work with you and you specifically, because I want you and I want you specifically. And I want you even more than I want the convenient women who are close to me in my same city, in my same town, or even in my same state or region. And I want you so bad that I'm willing to forego the opportunity to be with those women, even though it's more convenient and easier to be with you. So the reason I say all of that is because the man in that mind state has to be double as intentional as the average everyday man because of how much he wants you. If he doesn't adopt that mindset and he doesn't have that mindset towards you and his relationship with you, having a long distance relationship is absolutely pointless because you won't get anywhere. Men need to be very intentional so that things can progress and things can move forward. You can't be the one progressing it. It's not your job in your feminine energy. He has to be in his masculine, which means he has to be taking action. And the only way for him to take action is for him to desire to actually want you and want to build with you. If he doesn't have that desire, then nothing will happen as it's really happening right now. So the answer to your question is to take your hands off the wheel and let's see what he would rather do. So when he does come in 3 months, not only are you not going to hit him up and you're not going to ask him to come visit you or spend time with you, even though I know it's painful for you because you're not seeing him all the time, you're going to use this opportunity to see if is he going to come to my city and not once hit me up or ask me to hang out or ask to take me out or anything like that. And this is going to be a painful reality, but I want you to realize this. If he spends all 3 months there and he rarely sees you, or, maybe even he doesn't see you at all, that is the clearest answer to how he feels about you and how he feels about this relationship. If he comes to your city and he spends 3 months there and doesn't once ask you what you're up to or ask you about taking you out or go out with you once or make some sort of effort to do that. That is the most honest, most clear, and upfront answer you can possibly get from a guy if he were to do that. Okay, so you're going to let it be and you're going to see what direction he wants to take it in because this is supposed to be his job here. Okay, all right, let's hop into our next question here. Drink some water. I'm thirsty, boy. Okay, this one got deleted. B says, don't talk to guys at the club and where to look for high value men. Okay. Hi, Tommy. It's the 47-year-old female in Chicago that had the, okay. So I'm not going to skip your question, B. I'm going to save it just because I want to we did answer one of your questions earlier. So on the next show, we'll answer your question. I want to give everyone a chance to get their question answered. And I don't want to do one person's questions only in one show. Okay, Amy says, Tomisin, in your pineapple timeline, you mentioned the first 2 months should only consist of pecks, no privacy, no tongue action, or oral. I was wondering in regards to this point as well as the timeline itself, does the timeline begin once he begins pursuing? So within the first 2 months of him pursuing, we're only allowed to peck, or does the timeline begins once he fully acknowledges our relationships, asks me to be his girlfriend? The timeline begins the moment he starts pursuing. So if you're curious of what that means, right? As soon as he starts saying, hey, I want to, see where this goes. I want to get to know you. I want to take you out. Like from think of it like this, that very first date, the clock is now ticking. Okay. If there's no date, the clock is not ticking. The reason I say that is because with the timeline, with the pineapple timeline, you have to actually be going on dates too. And I think I actually should have mentioned that. I might have to put a little bit of like a love timeline or relationship timeline video to kind of go inside on the side with that, because the other thing that I don't want you to make the mistake of is thinking that just because 2 months has passed, that means you're now at the next stage and you haven't had any dates and you don't know him any better. You want to make sure that throughout this process of you dating him, that dates are actually happening. And especially you're not starting the timeline until that first date happens. So if no first date happens, the timeline doesn't go into place. So if he's going to take a year before he goes on his first date with you, ain't no timeline in place yet. Okay. You're still getting to know him and you're still working through this process. Okay. So let me be very clear with that, Amy. There. Let's go into our next question. Okay. Brazilian baby girl. Okay. He likes traveling too much. Hi, Tomisin and chat. This is my first time participating in Discord time. I'm a 26-year-old female from Brazil, and I've been talking to this really cute Brazilian engineer who's 32 that I met on Tinder. It's been only 4 days since we started talking, and we still haven't seen each other in person. He lives close to me, lives by himself, and has a good stable 9-to-5 job, and he really likes traveling. Really. All of his Tinder pictures were taken in different countries. He has done all types of trips, from backpacking to more comfortable trips in fancy hotels. I believe he travels at least once a year, and he has been to more than 8 countries at this point. I know all of this because he really likes talking about it. He also said that one of his dreams was to take a sabbatical year to travel, but doesn't know if he can do that because of work. He also mentioned he recently ended a serious relationship a few months back, and that he took his ex on a fancy trip to Paris and Rome. I'm sure that they had fun looking at the Italian tour Eiffel. So the Eiffel Tower, yeah. Should I consider this? Wait. You're trying to be funny, huh? Saying that the Italian, you're trying to be funny. You're trying to be funny. Okay. Should I consider this a red flag or a green flag? I'm not sure. Also, should I be worried about this ex since it is a recent breakup? He told me that it is all resolved and there are no more feelings, but talk is cheap. Anyways, at first I was liking his vibe because I also really like traveling. This man is basically living my dream life. And I've already started fantasizing about us traveling to some remote but romantic place in the end of the world. What do you mean in the end of the world? What? Place? Okay. However, when I came back from Delululand, I started to think that this lifestyle of his may not be conducive to a serious long-term relationship. Maybe that's why him and his ex broke up. And I question myself, what are this man's intentions? For context, his Tinder profile, he has the I don't know option marked on the part where he has to state his purpose on the app. What do you think that means? Jack, can you help Miss Amazing Brazilian? I was gonna say Brazilian butt lift. Brazilian baby girl. Can you help her understand what that means if on a man's Tinder profile he says I don't know when it comes to the purpose that he's on the dating app? It's a dating app, isn't it? To me, this kind of means that he wants casual pineapples but wants to hide it. You're very smart. You're very intelligent. I asked him directly, what does he want on the app? And his response was more or less like, I honestly don't know. It's really relative. You can start wanting a serious relationship and end up only in a casual one, or start with a casual relationship that becomes a serious one. It only depends on the person and the connection you have with them. Doesn't this sound like a beautiful, amazing, well thought out answer? You want to know what we call this? We call this a word salad, because all he's doing by answering your question is confusing you more. So let me bring some clarity to what he's actually saying. He's saying, I don't have any direction here. I want to enjoy myself, and I'll let you feel like there's a possibility of a relationship on the horizon. If you're going to invest your time here, that way you at least have something to hope for eventually at some point, but I'm not making any promises. And I want to ensure that I keep myself guarded and safe for when the time comes where you're frustrated that nothing has happened or our relationship isn't going anywhere. I can remind you of the fact that I told you I don't know earlier. That way I don't feel like a bad person and you don't think of me as a bad person because I told you what it is even at the beginning. And you can't fault me. You can't say I'm a liar. You can't say I confused you because I told you exactly what it was, and it's exactly that now. That's what he's really saying there. Okay. All this other stuff, it was just to confuse you. Okay. That's what he's really saying. I don't know how to feel about this answer. Part of me thinks that it's reasonable, and part of me thinks that it's BS. Do you think I should have asked that anyways? No, because you got your answer, right? And I just told you what the real answer is, right? But you just don't want to accept that as the answer because you want to like him and, you know, your fantasies are playing in your mind. Okay. Right. It's a waste of time. Are you giving me the side eye yet? He asked what my objective was on the app. My profile says I want a serious relationship, so he knows. But all I said is that I'm not interested in no casual relationships. If you truly aren't, then you should have just stopped messaging him there. That's honestly the truthful answer. He asked for my Instagram and number, and we texted a bit back and forth because let me tell you something. The reason he's asking that is because he wants to know what to give you hope for. He wants to know if you really have it set in your mind that you need a serious relationship in order to do anything. That way he knows like what he can say to continuously dangle a carrot in front of you and give you hope. So what does that mean? Oh, you know, yeah, I'm feeling like things are going well and I'm feeling like, I don't know, we could end up doing whatever. Maybe this could end up serious one day. Those are the type of things that he'll understand how to say to you or give you in order to get what he wants from you, that he understands what you're looking for here. But I've been following your advice and keeping the texting to a minimum. No Shakespeare text and no talking about deep stuff over text. It has been 4 days and he compliments me a few times, kept the conversation going over text, and hinted that he wanted to see me in person since the first day. Yesterday, he asked if I would like to go biking with him someday. I didn't respond for a few hours because I was with friends, but at night I said, sure. He responded with a smiley emoji and went on to talk about other stuff and didn't set a date and time yet. I know it's probably too early to say, but I would really like to know your perspective on this guy. My advice is to not waste any of your time, but okay. He said he wants to take a sabbatical. I know we don't know each other, so he doesn't need to consider me in his plans and dreams, but should I be concerned that because of his obsession with traveling, he is going to waste my time? He is. I'll tell you why, though. What do you think about his response about serious and casual dating? What do you think he asked? Or sorry, you said, why do you think he asked if I wanted to go biking and didn't set a date or time? Because he's unserious, like he's been saying from the beginning. How long is too long to wait for a date invitation? 1 month seems reasonable. I love your show, Tommy. Thank you for everything you do. Update. It's been 1 month since we matched on Tinder. He texts me every single day and always initiates. I did the I'm better in person line that you recommended, but still no date. He hinted more than once about asking me on a date, and I showed interest, but let him take initiative. However, he didn't ask me out yet. 1 month, Tommy. First of all, why? Secondly, what should I do? Be mean to him? I deserve it. What? What do you say? Why did you say I deserve it at the end? Okay. I think you meant to say he deserves it. Okay. So Brazilian baby girl, what you're going to do now is you're going to delete his number. You're going to unfollow him. You're going to unadd him if you have him on Snapchat. You're going to unfriend him on anything that you have him as a friend on. And you're going to move forward with your life. And you're also going to delete Tinder, because you're going to find a lot of guys like this on Tinder, because Tinder is exactly where they like to hang out. And 1 month is way too long for him to have been messaging you and not asking you out on a date, especially considering you haven't mentioned anything about long distance. So clearly you guys don't live that far apart. Now, the other thing here that we have to be honest with ourselves about is you might not realize this. Whenever a guy, even a person in general, whenever a guy is in a place where he's really, really fixated on traveling, you have to think to yourself, what are you really trying to experience or extract from traveling? Most of the time when people are really focused on traveling, they want to gain more experience in life, right? They want to see more things. They want to meet more people. They're not ready yet mentally to just say, yeah, I've done enough, I've seen enough, and I want to grow with just one person. They're still in a place where they just want to see what the world has to offer them. The problem with that for a guy is if he's still mentally in a mind state where he needs to see what the world has to offer him, he'll be thinking that being with you is a disadvantage because he'll be constrained by not being able to experience or explore other people he'll meet in all of these different countries that he'll go to, right? He's going to be traveling to Italy one day, to France one day, to Europe another day, to Jamaica another day, to South America one day, to wherever he's going. And everywhere that he goes, he's going to want to get the full experience, so to speak. And the full experience is meeting people there, growing your relationship and friendships with those people that you meet wherever you're at, and seeing where that takes you, which is exactly how he described what he wants for himself and his life, right? I don't know, right? And saying essentially that he just wants to kind of see where things take him. That was exactly what this response was, which actually makes a lot of sense when you think about where he's at in his life with wanting to travel. He just wants to see where the wind blows him and where it takes him and what the world has to offer him when he goes out and explores. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Okay, that's great. That's perfectly fine that he wants to do that. What I'm saying is, for yourself, knowing what you want, which is a serious relationship that's going to lead towards marriage, don't bother wasting any time with a guy in this mind state. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying he's going to waste your time because he's not looking for the same thing that you're looking for. So no amount of talking to him, no amount of chit-chatting with him, no amount of sending him pictures or getting on phone calls with him is going to change the fact that you guys are in two different places mentally. And he might even get to a point where one day, years down the line, he has experienced everything he's needed to experience, traveled all the travel he wants to travel, and now he's actually ready to build a relationship with just one woman. But if he's not there mentally, you're not going to shake him and get him there. So my advice to you is don't do yourself a disservice by thinking that things will change, very soon if you can just start dating him and figure it out. I would rather you not waste time and let him go do all his exploring and all his traveling and not stress yourself out about someone who isn't even on the same page with you. Okay? That's the much better way to go about it. And look for someone and only spend time with someone who is looking for something very serious too, because then you won't have to beg him for dates. You won't have to wait for 1 month, for him to ask you out on a date, and he'll be taking it as serious as you're taking it. And instead of you being in a position where you feel the need to be in your masculine, you'll be able to be in your feminine because your man is actually taking the lead. Okay? Brazilian baby girl. All right, chat. That's the show for today. We went long today. It was like 3 hours plus the other one. All right. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be in our free section, our private section, or our premium section, you can ask me all of those questions by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or the link in my description if you're watching this on YouTube. For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of the screen. It's Tomisin_Tub on Instagram. You can follow me there. For those of you who are watching on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show because you came late or you missed some parts, you missed some points, all of the points that I said and talked about are available on my YouTube channel just above my head. Type in my first name, Tomisin, on YouTube, and you'll be able to find my YouTube channel. Go into the live section of my YouTube page. You'll see this whole live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. And you'll have the conversation from the YouTube chat because I'm live there too, and the TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you won't miss a second of conversation that I have. Okay. For those of you who are wanting to, what was the word I was looking for? Oh, find me when I'm live again. I'm live Monday and Thursday every week. And I'm live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was a little late today because obviously, my internet. But for the most part, I will be on time. Okay. So until we meet again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, don't worry, chat. Also, we're gonna go back to our more frequent time. It's just to have some things I have to build first throughout this time. That's why I'm going less days of the week. But don't worry, lots of posts, lots of content for you guys. Even still, that is going to be pre-recorded as well. Right. I'll see you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara. Ciao, salam, arrivederci, adios, baoni. I haven't said them all. Bon voyage. And I'll see you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you all so much.